This Coast to Coast Entertainment Network program is brought to you by Beside Me Bracelets. Our bracelets are handmade for any occasion. Use the promo code Coast to Coast for 15% off. Visit their website at besideme.com. Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry. With 24-hour shopping available, use the code 160920 and show her some love, like she showed us. Reaper Apparel Company, a commitment to live your most authentic way every single day. Visit reaperapparelco.com for more information and a look at all of their apparel offerings. And by Good Day Embroidery, your local source for custom embroidery, screen printing, and more. Log on to gooddayembroidery.com for more information. A great Monday evening, sports fans, and welcome into another live edition of C2C at Night, coming at you from Southern California on a beautiful, crisp, and nice Monday, October 21st, 2024. Coming down the stretch run of the month of October and towards the end of spooky season, alongside that man, James Gonzales from Oceanside, California. Yours truly, Callan and McClurg, joining you here in San Diego. Mr. Gonzales, we're taking the grand circle tour of a sports world, man, on a beautiful Monday. Good to see you as always, James. How's it going tonight? Good to see you.
Yeah, it's still hot outside, man.
Crazy.
It's October, of course, fire season. I'm always aware around here. Got a new chair, hoping it doesn't break apart on air. We'll see what happens, though.
I hope to not have to do my best Jim Ross impersonation from WWF Wrestling if that happens. Let's hope not, my friend. Let's hope not. With that in mind, though, folks, on this beautiful Monday night, again, if you are up late on a Monday, maybe a Tuesday morning, where you might be joining us from, again, folks, C2C at Night, coming at you every Monday to recap the day that was, and for that matter, the weekend that was in the sports world across all of the major professional sports leagues and college athletics. Again, James and I come here to talk all those things with you on Monday nights, 10 o'clock here on C2C in the Pacific time zone. But as always, folks, your input is always appreciated. Again, if you're watching us live on Facebook, YouTube, or on Twitch, questions, comments, concerns, hot takes, cold takes, drop them in the live chat box. Get involved with the program. We'll do our absolute best to ensure that your commentary is read live on the air. First, James, I wanted to kind of, in a way, maybe call an audible here real quick and congratulate you and Chris, by the way, on an amazing, well done Saturday SEC on C2C presentation. I know that was kind of like a brainchild of you and Chris, kind of like last minute on Saturday. It got about 85, 90 to 100 people watch on YouTube. So certainly, James, very well done with that presentation on Saturday for the Georgia-Texas football game from Austin.
God, it was last minute put together. It was an idea on Friday that just, blossomed through Saturday. And, he was actually coming in kind of late because he was with his family. So I was like, oh, crap, do I start it myself? So we did it. And it was just great. And I was half asleep, too, basically, because I didn't really get a lot of sleep through it. But that game was so great, for one team. And it exposed the other. We'll get to all that later. But just the chance to call the game like I did, it was almost like a dream come true in a way. And I'm hoping we do some more football games. Maybe on deck, we do a look at
World Series games.
Next week. Yeah. It would be game, I think, 5. If it gets to game 5, I think we'd be able to do a special on deck and a watch party.
So, yeah, keep an eye for that on those folks. I myself have a couple of ideas for the hockey season. I'm sure James and I might do one for the NBA, maybe for the MLS Cup postseason. Like, who knows? We have a lot of ideas based off of that. So, again, thanks to everyone who joined James and Chris for the first edition of the SEC on C2C. That's a great. It just flows so well. Like, I don't think
that's all Chris.
That was
a shocker when I saw the title. I was like, oh damn, okay.
Okay, we got a badass over here. We got a badass over here. With that in mind, though, folks, getting to the nitty gritty though of the sports talk on this Monday night. Of course, James, we are now sitting, my man, roughly 4 days away from the World Series. New York versus Los Angeles. Yankees and Dodgers will kick off Game 1 on Friday at 5:08 Pacific time from the Ravine at Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles, California. James, AL #1 seed, NL #1 seed, Judge versus Ohtani. What more, man, could you ask for as a baseball fan? I know that there's a very big chunk of the baseball audience who's like, I don't want to watch this crap. I don't want to see, the Dodgers win it. I don't want to see the Yankees win it. I hope both teams lose. James, at the end of the day, though, I'm a baseball fan. You're a baseball fan. I'm on board for it, though, even though, it's like, well, it can't be about New York, it can't be about Los Angeles. At the end of the day, though, James, I want this to be a 7-game series. And again, this is going to be pretty much power versus power. Ohtani and Judge, Judge and Stanton versus the Dodgers' top 3 of their batting order. But I think, though, James, it still does boil down to pitching. Now, while the Dodgers have done a pretty damn good job, James, I'll give them credit here for being able to maneuver this whole entire thing since the DS of only having Flaherty and Yamamoto healthy. They've been rolling out these bullpen games. They've worked so far against San Diego. They worked as well versus the Mets. However, though, James, I think this is a bit of a different task now to try to make a bullpen day, at least twice in this series, work against the Yankees, who have their pitching of Garrett Cole lined up. There's been talk of Nestor Cortez coming back onto the roster after being left off the ALCS roster. And also, I think, James, that bullpen health now does become a factor, because now Luke Weaver is out there, man, throwing some nasty filth and some gas for the Yankees. And again, Dave Roberts has really had to kind of, in a way, put together a giant jigsaw puzzle over the past 2 rounds, DS and CS, about where they put guys in. Though I will, though, James, give Dave Roberts and the Dodger pitching staff and the Dodger analytic team a lot of credit, though, for being able to put together a game plan, James, of how do we make this bullpen day work. And it's worked so far pretty much to perfection, minus the one game where they got blown up by the Mets, though. And also, James, more than anything else, though, the fact that every game in the NLCS was a blowout and a whitewash was pretty tough, though. But regardless, James, this should be very, again, very awesome to watch again. Judge Ohtani, Yankees, and Dodgers, first time since the 81 World Series, where the Dodgers came out on top in the 81 World Series. James, overall thoughts about Yanks and Dodgers for the world title?
Did not ever want to see this, even though for years, I think since 2017, I predicted this to happen. Every year I'd pick Yankees Dodgers because I just assumed MLB would want that. But I think it took a Texas Arizona World Series to happen to make this happen. I just felt like it took that low ratings and not being in big markets, so to speak, to make this World Series happen. You can believe whatever you want, but historically it is what everybody wants to see, and it hasn't happened since 1981. The Yankees, I think, are 8-3 all time in World Series against the Dodgers, Brooklyn and LA. The Dodgers won in 55, 63, and 81. Meanwhile, the Yankees won in 78, 77, 54, all those years in Brooklyn. They kept demolishing Brooklyn until 55, and then they won in 50. Yankees won in 56 as well. So you have history on the side of this series. And then you have the Galaxy of Stars for the MLB. And it's just funny how they all they came from other teams, really, except Judge. You have Shohei Ohtani versus Judge. You have Juan Soto and Mookie Betts. You got Freddie Freeman and Giancarlo Stanton. On the pitching side, you have Yamamoto and Garrett Cole, and then you have Flaherty and Rodon. And then you have 2 bullpens that have worked their butts off. And
mainly more Los Angeles has been working major overtime here since the DS.
Yeah, you mentioned the Game 6 happening with how they started the game, the Dodgers, with Michael Kopech. And they went on from there, and it's an analytical thing. I know a lot of the older fans don't like it. that approach, but it worked for once this year with the Dodgers. Usually it crumbles in the postseason like the last 3 years, but it didn't. For the Yankees, you have Luke Weaver, who just really came out of nowhere to kind of take that closer role because Clay Holmes wasn't getting it done. I think he's better suited 8th and 7th innings. You have Tim Hill, the former friend with the Padres, that has done pretty well with the Yankees here 4-0. Then Mark Leader Jr. is something crazy because I believe, isn't that the man, the prospect from the Rangers that they traded away, and he's just all of a sudden found his niche with the Yankees. He's got some filthy breaking ball stuff I saw in the ALCS. So it's funny how just, one man couldn't find the way in one organization. He goes to the other and finds his way with Mark Leader Jr. It's pretty crazy to think. So there's names all over the place. It's definitely just it's going to be a TV ratings bonanza. But if it isn't, then the league has a huge, huge problem. If these two can't draw, baseball is pretty much dead when you think about it. But I think this will be fine. You're in the two major markets in television and popularity world. So if we're giving predictions, though, I have to think the heroics of Max Muncy and Kike Hernandez and whomever else wants to hit some clutch home runs will make it happen. I've been hearing the Yankees are slight underdogs, but you never can count them out. Juan Soto making clutch hits and home runs. The same with Stanton and Judge. You just have to take care of those three in the lineup, and then you just have to pitch your way out and get out, Torres if you're the Dodger pitchers. I'm going to say Dodgers in 6 win the World Series. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I mean, from a perspective, though, of just like the grand scheme of things, it's the top 3 of the Dodgers, and then it's Soto, Judge, Stanton for the Yankees. I think the Dodgers have a better leadoff guy. Obviously, Ohtani and Torres is like comparing apples to oranges. Then I think, though, James, what has been critical, though, for the Dodgers' success is not mainly the pitching side. It's the bottom half of the order, James, that was like MIA all season. You're interchanging Kike Hernandez and Chris Taylor, Gavin Lux, and Miguel Rojas. And I know that Rojas has been on the shelf, though, with that growing issue he's had since the NLDS. But I do, James, still wonder if the bullpen magic continues, because after Flaherty and Yamamoto, you're relying on more of your bullpen again, where I think that's where the advantage goes to New York when it comes to bullpen health. And for pitching-wise, lineup-wise, James, I think we're going to be having a lot of like 11 to 10. It feels like it could be like 11, 10, 10 to 9, 8 to 7, 9, 8, 10, 9 games, because Judge and Soto and Stan will hit the ball to the ballpark. And obviously the Dodger hitters will hit the ball to the ballpark. This, I think, though, will boil down to the bottom half of LA's lineup staying hot. Shout out to my good man, Tommy Edman, who won NLCS MVP. Again, I talked about how Tommy and I grew up playing ball together here in San Diego during our last program a couple of weeks ago. And now he won NLCS MVP, kind of in a way being traded from St. Louis in the middle of the season, coming off wrist surgery, a jarred ankle, and here he is winning NLCS MVP. But I really, James, think, though, and I think you're right, though, if this series doesn't draw, then there's a major problem. I think it's going to draw well in Japan, having Yamamoto and Ohtani on that big stage. Japan, also the Yankees and their history as well, that will draw well. I think that I heard that the Padres-Dodgers drew like 15 million viewers in Japan because of Darvish and Yamamoto and Ohtani playing in Game 5 of the NLDS. The Dodgers are hot. I think they're probably the hotter team coming in, though. But, James, I got to go with the Yankees. I think that the pitching bullpen days, the luck does run out eventually. And I know that's, well, you live in San Diego. How am I not surprised? If we just looked at it, James, from that perspective, 2 healthy starters in a World Series game against what the Yankees have to offer and a fresher bullpen, and then maneuvering with Holmes not closing and now Weaver closing, and then, having the Dodgers use all their high leverage arms not in their usual spots. Again, I think that lineup, or that luck does run out. I think that it does continue, or that the Yankees can, exploit that. But I hope it goes 7. I really hope it goes 7 so we can
Yeah.
extend the series out. And I think it's what baseball would want is a 7-game series involving the Yankees and the Dodgers. I think, James, that this series will be fine when it comes to viewership because I think that, I know a lot of people will say, well, I'm not going to watch. It's the Yankees and Dodgers and the two biggest teams, with the biggest payrolls. This is what Fox wanted from the get-go, whatever the case may be, though. I think, though, it'll be Yanks in 7, and I hope it goes 7. But I think that at the end of the day, it does, I think, boil down to pitching. I'm not worried about either lineup, James, because, we know that the Dodgers can hit. We know that the Yankees can hit. I think it does boil down to pitching and at the end of the day, I think the Yankees have more in the rotation, and I think the bullpen is not as taxed as has been the case with LA since the division series began.
Yeah, like you mentioned, hopefully it goes 7. That would make everybody happy, and that would be
Now, I
on a
will say, James,
Saturday
real
too.
quick, if it's a sweep, then baseball has a problem on their hands.
Ooh.
I really think so.
And then Yankee fans would be wondering, well, what else do we need? Like, we have everything.
That's where I think it goes into play with both teams. I mean, Dodgers ride this wave of momentum with the bullpen games, and then all of a sudden they get swept by the Yankees, or is it, or like you said, it's vice versa. But please go ahead and counter.
Let me make a crazy observation, but I don't think any manager will get fired of this. But just think about how hot
If
both
that
seats
happens, I would be
were.
pissed. I'm not even a fan of either team, but if Boone or Roberts lose their job by losing in the World Series, that's a bunch of baloney.
If Steinbrenner was around, I would think he would do something like that to Boone. But I was just thinking about it. Both managers have been on the hot seats for a while, so this is like
long time.
This is like the matchup of those two. I think Boone needs it more than Roberts because Roberts already got his in 2020, but Boone needs it, I think, more because they've gotten so close so many times like the Dodgers did, but those early exits really hurt. But you could just tell both clubhouses love their managers. So I don't think a firing would it would shock the hell out of me if it did. But I think Boone needs it more than Roberts.
I would agree. And I also think that Roberts saves his job, win or lose, because of how, regardless of what happened in that San Diego series, that team came together after game 2 with the whole, malarkey of the stuff being thrown on the field and, the Machado throw of the ball allegedly towards Dave Roberts. But that team rallied, James. And that really, I think, should be a clear message that, win or lose here, Dave Roberts should be safe and not lose his job. But certainly it'll be a great World Series. I hope it goes 7 and the better team win, at this rate. With that, James, the other big story, though, in Major League Baseball that has been coming up, though, has been the aftermath, though, of Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton. That, of course, James has seen the disturbing photos of the flooding, the people stuck on top of their homes, and, of course, more importantly, in the sports world, James, has been the images of the roof being blown out at Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg, Florida. All but 2 panels of the roof are gone. There is no drainage system on the field because of the dome. And, of course, James, that now has left us wondering, where will the Rays play home games? Now, there's been talk about maybe Montreal. That is now off the board officially, as the Canadian government has said, we're putting in money to redo the stadium. You can't play here. The very phony, I think, and foolish thoughts of them going to Oakland to play AL East divisional opponents in Oakland, California. Absolutely not. That's not going to happen. And now, James, we're going to be looking at probably AAA ballparks for at least a similar A's ordeal until that new ballpark is built in 4 years or until they redo Tropicana Field temporarily in St. Petersburg. But, James, I've even heard about Charlotte or Nashville maybe being spots as well. James, logistically, and I will say, James, as well, one wild card I did see was the Rays playing in Puerto Rico like the Expos did in 2004. I just don't know, James, what the right way would be here for the situation. Now, this is way different, though, big game, James, from what happened in Oakland. We're talking about like the Superdome in New Orleans, for example, or the Astrodome in Houston. The roof is blown off or ripped up during the hurricane, and you can't play games down at that ballpark right now. Again, there's no drainage system. The humidity would obviously be a big factor as well. So, James, we're looking at either a minor league ballpark or a temporary relocation of the Rays, maybe to Orlando, I've heard, to the Wide World of Sports complex at Disney World. I've heard Port Charlotte, Florida, where they have spring training. I've heard Charlotte. I've heard Nashville. I've heard Montreal. And then that very ludicrous one of them going to Oakland, which would make absolutely no sense whatsoever. James, maybe in your perfect world, my man, where would the Rays probably, in your mind, go?
You know, I didn't even think about Nashville or Charlotte or their minor league ballpark, but I forgot where it was. So that's why I didn't come up with it. But I would think, yeah, their minor league ballpark. I don't think they want to play at Steinbrenner Field, the home of the Yankee spring training in Tampa, even though that would be the closest solution. I don't think that.
And I'm sure the Yanks would be, at least nice enough to throw them a bone, because this is a natural disaster we're talking about, and so on and so forth.
But it would be, 3 years there. They would have to add capacity to that place, according to sources. So I don't know if they want to do all of that. But, man, just a horrible sight. It kind of reminded me of Katrina a little bit when you see the inside of the Superdome, the way you saw Tropicana Field. And then the roof being damaged like that, it brought back some haunting memories from, 19 years ago. And then, not even thinking baseball-wise, just how that area has been, flooded, and as you mentioned, the devastation in some places. So, but when it comes down to baseball, I think either their spring training home or, Steinbrenner Field. But you know what? I do like that idea of Nashville. I was thinking of teams that in the past, maybe in the 70s, 80s, or 90s, that had some home games in other places to test if those markets could draw. And then they would play like a handful of games there. Not really the Kansas City Kings. They played some games in Omaha a couple of years in the 70s, but I was trying to think of someone who did that, where they went to Puerto Rico, where
James, the Hornets did that during Katrina. They were the New Orleans / Oklahoma City Hornets. But this also popped in my head. Nashville equals Speedway Classic coming there next season.
Yeah.
And now if you add in the Rays playing in Nashville on top of the game at Bristol Motor Speedway, that's a pretty good starting point. And on top of the fact, Jerry Reinsdorf wanting to sell the White Sox, Dave Stewart's group being involved in Nashville as well. So there's 3 big bullet points, I think, right there, my man. But please continue.
No, I love that, because I was trying to think of, teams that did that just to say, hey, if you have a team moving here, I think they do that for Seattle. The Clippers go up there for preseason games. They've even gone to Vancouver for preseason games.
And that was like the LA Kings playing Frozen Fury at Utah. Well, first it was in Vegas, then it ended up going to Salt Lake City, and now all of a sudden that Frozen Fury game, I don't know if it was the Frozen Fury game, but the Kings did play the Bruins in 2 exhibition games in Quebec City to maybe test that market to bring the Nordiques back.
So I do like that. I would love that.
I absolutely love it.
Not for the White Sox to be, sold and moved.
Same.
It would just be weird with the White Sox gone and just the Cubs in Chicago, but eventually could happen. But yeah, I like that Nashville idea just for an experiment, and you can only do it maybe 1 year. And then,
Fair.
you know what else? I was thinking there was all those talks about the Dreamers in Orlando, with
Pat Williams,
but I think he passed away. He was awesome, by the way. But you could always test out the worldwide of sports and see if you can draw there, not only for the Yankees and Red Sox and the Braves, but for others. You could test that market a bit and just see if you could draw there. You know what I would do actually is split games between Nashville and Orlando, and I would put
what they wanted to do with Tampa and Montreal fairly recently until the Canadian government said, no, we got to redo the stadium where the Expos once played. James, how would you feel, though, about if the Rays stayed close to Florida, but they went to Puerto Rico? Again, we saw this happen with the Expos when they were kind of at the end of their time in Montreal.
You think the Players Association would like, or union would like that? Traveling, internationally for
I mean,
road
that is a
games.
fair point. I mean, that is a pretty fair point. However, though, I would probably say I'd be for it because look at what the NFL's done with all the games in London with the
Yeah, but
Jaguars.
it's not like
But it's only once
one
a
game,
week, though. It's
right?
not 41 or 81 home games, but still, like,
Well,
I think though I'd be with you, James, though, on splitting time, like 41 games in Orlando, 41 games in Nashville or Charlotte or somewhere to maybe test that market potentially for maybe a potential franchise. It's just too bad they couldn't go to Montreal.
the Rays on tour. Would you imagine Nashville, Orlando, and Puerto Rico? I think that'd be
That'd
amazing
be
for the
something.
next 3 years. I know you'll never have a home,
But
but
still, it'd
you'll
be
get
something because,
notoriety.
and I think you could easily give 1/3 of games to each market, and then maybe kind of hopscotch around, Florida, Puerto Rico, go to Nashville, and especially I think James, I think the Nashville idea is feasible because again, they're going to the market in Bristol at Bristol Motor Speedway for that Braves Reds game, and the talk of the new ballpark there, the talk of Dave Stewart's group being involved with the Nashville Stars. I've heard, Charlotte could be a spot as well. I think that this could be intriguing, but I think, James, we should probably put a kibosh on the hopes and dreams of Oakland because an AL East team
No,
playing in
yeah.
Oakland is not going to work out.
That was just a funny thing on X. It was like old A's Oakland fans saying, "Oh, didn't you see the last 3 games we drew? Well, we can have a MLB team, but no." So I would like that, the Rays on tour, and then I was hearing someone, bluntly saying, "Well, the Rays don't draw anyway, hurricane or not." So it's just like this would be good just to experiment and to have all those 3 sites as home fields. I think that'd be something cool.
Okay, James, I got one more loony proposition for you. For the fact that we have the A's sharing a AAA ballpark in Sacramento for the next 3 years, the Rays and Marlins share Lone Depot Park in Miami, Florida.
That was my first
because I believe that park
choice.
Is turf. I believe the park is
Yeah.
turf, and I don't think it would be torn up. But no. I mean, who says no? Angels, Dodgers did this back in the '60s at Chavez Ravine.
Why not? I think they would, and they would draw the same, which would be nobody unless it's New York or Boston or Atlanta.
Because that way you can keep it. Because I think the main thing, James, and I think our good man Lee Hacksaw Hamilton talked about it today on Monday. The main reason to stay in Florida, television. And I think if they stay in Florida, despite FanDuel Sports Network now, because Bally dropped the naming rights, why not? Because the Marlins just re-upped their deal with FanDuel Sports to stay on the platform. Now with the new name, maybe that more teams can come back to the fray. But I think that just popped in my head, like, Nashville, like, I love the ideas, though, but why not just go to the ballpark in Miami? Because both teams do not draw well, sadly, but also domed ballpark. You don't have to worry about leaving the state, and you can keep your games on television.
And you're never going to draw, so you can even do double headers like the Angels Dodgers did back then. Have the Angels, they play day games, the Dodgers played at night or, afternoon. Yeah. You could do the same thing with the Marlins and the Rays, and it wouldn't matter.
I think that's a fair trade-off.
Yeah. I like that more, I think the tour would be great, but I think when reality comes in and you need a MLB ready place, that's the only solution.
Lone Depot Park.
That's it.
Oh, even better. Even better. Evict the Marlins for 3 years and force them to go back to Hard Rock Stadium to play where they used to play back in the day at Pro Players Stadium where the Dolphins play.
Or I would do a solution, get rid of them.
Make a play at a college stadium. Why not?
Yeah, it's like, but it'd be cool though to see if they couldn't play in Miami. I think Orlando would be the next best
I think Orlando would. I think it would go Orlando, Nashville as like the top two, and I really think, James, that the baseball front office should look at that though and really look like, we already have a team playing in Florida, dome ballpark. Keep the TV contract in place. Keep the TV revenue for the payroll. Ship them to Miami for 3 years until they get the new ballpark built or they finish off redoing the Trop.
I didn't even know about that FanDuel deal. Wow.
It literally happened today. It's
That got
now
me off guard.
it's now literally called FanDuel Sports Network West in SoCal.
Wow. I never even knew
Same
that.
Bally style branding, just with a brand new name and color scheme.
That's all you need. I was trying to remember. I think it was the Braves who played a handful of games of spring training at Walt Disney or Disney Sports or whatever.
I
That
think the
field.
Braves did have their spring training there, and then they moved out to a new facility.
That's why I remember that place for, baseball. I know the 2020 bubble, but outdoors, I remember watching some of those games and thinking, oh, that's kind of cool. But yeah, I like the Nashville idea for the experiment, the Miami thing for MLB purposes.
I feel like that would be like a last resort effort, I think, James, especially with the schedule already being out for 2025.
Hey, we're both mammals. Let's just swim together.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of think that it has to maybe become a thing pretty soon, especially if they're saying it's not going to be ready by opening day of 2025.
You got to have something by December.
I think by December, even January. I think January 1 would be like hard deadline. Anything after July 1, not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
With that, James, in mind, we'll move away from the diamond to the gridiron. Week 7 of the NFL season in the books. Sadly, though, my man James, it was overshadowed by injuries across the board. Brandon Ayuk, for example, Chris Godwin in the first of two Monday Night Football games on Monday night. Also, of course, Deshaun Watson and his rough Achilles injury as well, where fans let their voices be known in a very, I think, very putrid way on Sunday. But James, slowest 5 minutes, my man. Week 7 of the NFL season. What do you got?
I love that. It started Thursday night in Big Easy, and man, was it easy for the Broncos. They won 33-10 to the injured Saints. I mean, there was no Carr, no Olave. Spencer Rattler played awful. It was opposite of last week, so Broncos got an easy win there. And Amazon had 2 good games, and then they had a horrible one this week.
Another one bites the dust.
Just get rid of Thursday Night Football. I mean, the players don't want to play it. A lot of players are injured.
And the games end up becoming clunkers.
Yeah, I don't even pay for
Prime Video.
I go to Russia for my games, for those games. Whatever.
He said it, not me. He said it.
Then in London, the Jaguars and Patriots played before we did morning tailgate. Me and Chris, I watched a little of that first half. Saw a little of that second half where the Jaguars pulled away from the Patriots. I think one takeaway from this game was the Patriots coach Gerard Mayo saying, my team is soft all over the board. So he threw him under the bus, and that must have felt like an even longer flight back to Logan Airport in Boston. The Sunday morning action, at least out here, it was a shocker kind of in Atlanta. The Seahawks beat the Falcons by 20. Man, the Falcons, they're just so up and down. They had all that hype on them.
Coaster.
Yeah, and then Kirk Cousins got hit. Marsha got hit, bloody nose. So yeah, the Seahawks came back to life.
That was on a fumble return for a touchdown too, wasn't it?
That's insult to injury right there.
Oh my goodness.
Amari Cooper found his way to Buffalo, thank God, from Cleveland. And after a little struggle, the Bills defeat the Titans, no problem. The first battle of Ohio, the Bengals held on to win 21-14. Of course, that wasn't the main story. Deshaun Watson had a
ruptured Achilles.
That looked pretty bad. It's just one of those things where something snaps and you just know it and you fall. He was carted off. The fans, I think, had a chant in unison of some sort. And it was just something you expected, I think, from that fan base. And maybe karma has a role to play in it, or the fact he wasn't doing well, but I think all that just reared its ugly head right there. All those combinations of
Without
things.
a doubt.
The Packers and Texans played. That was one of 2 games I was looking forward to on Sunday, and it didn't live up to the hype as much. There was a lot of turnovers. C.J. Stroud did not play well at all. I think he had under 100 yards passing, but Jordan Love made up for some mistakes. He threw some touchdowns. Josh Jacobs even had a visit to the house. Packers won by 2 on a Brandon McManus game-winning field goal, and through all the issues he had off the field coming into this game, that was a third Green Bay Packer kicker this year. Also, the Niners have 3 kickers going so far. The Colts and their defense held on to the game in Indy against Miami just by 6. Richardson played okay. The numbers won't show it, but I was hoping to see Flacco. And then maybe the game of the day was the Lions at the Vikings, and the Vikings were the NFC undefeated, not anymore. The Lions had a game-winning field goal. They won by 2 in Minnesota. Jared Goff indoors plays his best. It's a known fact. The Eagles defeated the Giants 28-3, and Saquon Barkley, even though he said it wasn't a revenge game, you know
damn well it was a revenge game.
He ran through and around and over that Giants defense. There was a time he scored a touchdown, and his old teammate Dexter Lawrence even helped him up. That's how you know they love him. That's how you know they really miss him in New York. The GM did not do his diligence by...
We're going to lose sleep if we lose Saquon.
That was the owner saying that. And the GM was seen smiling on that Hard Knocks clip. Oh, boy. In the old Battle of L.A. in Inglewood, the Raiders and Rams played, and the Rams won 20-15. Aidan O'Connell got hit on his thumb.
Broken thumb, done for the season.
And I remember there's pain there that I feel when I got hit after a throw. Nothing was broken, but it stings every time something gets banged right there. So he'll be out 4 to 6 weeks on the IR. Here comes Uncle Rico. Gardner Minshew threw, 3 picks, I think it was. I mean, they were not even close sometimes. In other awful news, the Raiders signed Desmond Ridder, the failure prospect from the Falcons. It can't get any worse for my team. Yikes. All right. Speaking of fertility, the Panthers, who beat the Raiders in week 3, lost 40-7 to the Commanders. Washington now in command at 5-2, I believe.
However, Jaden Daniels, yikes.
A rib injury. His mom said he was okay, but in reality, I don't think he'll play next week.
Mama knows best, though.
Allen Iverson's mom. It reminded me of that. In the Super Bowl rematch, the Chiefs and the Niners played again in Santa Clara. This time, the Chiefs won lesser than last year. Last year was a blowout. This year it was only by 10, but the game mirrored by injuries and illness. I say that because Ayuk had the torn ACL and MCL. It looked really, really bad. Deebo Samuel in the warm-ups had
pneumonia.
I thought it was dehydration at one point, and he didn't finish the game, of course. So, man, a lot not to be positive about with the 49ers. I think there's going to be a new NFC champion this year.
Also, James, by the way, how about the reports that have come out, though, that apparently Kyle Shanahan had to have a thorough sit-down conversation with Brock Purdy following the conclusion of the game, and it kind of, in a way, just kind of epitomizes the year so far for San Francisco.
Because he had 3 interceptions, and they looked really bad. Remember, they didn't have Jennings as well, their good receiver this season. So he was really forcing the ball through, and Chiefs defense took advantage of that. So that was really good to see if you're a Chief fan. But yeah, it's panic time in Santa Clara. That is not Bill Walsh and Joe Montana right there. But I did see that picture in the locker room. People are saying, "Oh, just Brock Purdy's getting coached up, no problem." But it kind of makes you wonder. Purdy has not been Purdy this year. He has struggled this year, and
System's quarterback.
Maybe. Sunday Night Football began intriguing. It was Devontae Adams' first game with Aaron Rodgers, back with his father, Aaron Rodgers, and they didn't hook up as well. They had 9 targets, I think 3 catches, or whatever it was. The Steelers.
They let the old man Russell Wilson beat him nonetheless too. My goodness.
The jig is up. Da, 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 da,
In the
da,
country,
da.
that's right.
Oh boy, that still is cringe in a different market. But at first, it was not a good start for Russell Wilson in the first half. Booing ensued. Jalen Fields was wanted.
Ooh.
Justin Fields was wanted. Instead, he somehow went back in the hot tub time machine, threw for some touchdowns. He wasn't as mobile as he used to be, aren't we all? But yeah, he got some points. The defense got to Rodgers, and the Steelers won 37-15, no problem at all. That game became an afterthought after a while. In the Monday night doubleheader, which I'm sick of doubleheaders for Monday night, it used to be a special
Why?
thing. Just one game we could focus on, but these two games weren't even ready to focus on. I think I did watch the Manning cast. I learned so much from Belichick and his guests, their guests, I should say. Game started out pretty good back and forth, but then the Ravens took over. Baker Mayfield struggled. I mean, whatever happened in that 51, 17 game against New Orleans last week didn't happen today. The Bucks lost their two good receivers. Evans had a hamstring injury creep up back from that New Orleans game in which he left. And then Chris Godwin, I didn't see the play, but it was with under a minute to go. And then he was carted off when he got injured. So maybe that's a thing where you're out for the season. And it feels like the Bucks, they are going to be struggling now unless their running game does it all. If you don't have your two main receivers, Baker's going to struggle even more. And then the Charger Cardinal game on ESPN Plus, I didn't give a damn about. But the Cardinals won. I know Kyler Murray had a long touchdown run. There was a good defensive play by one of the Cardinals. A Charger was about to score, and then Cardinal batted it out. The ball went out of the end zone for a touchback, so I thought that was so cool to see. Everybody punching out the ball. It was TJ Watt last week against the Raiders. There was a punch out by, somebody named 44 for someone. I think it was the Viking game. Yeah. Their 44 on defense punched out a ball. So it's textbook plays that Charles Peanut Tillman did for the Bears, a couple decades ago. So I think he should be in the Hall of Fame just for that. Bye-week teams, of course, were the Bears and Cowboys. I wanted to see more Caleb Williams, but maybe we'll see that next week. So
they're at Washington on Sunday. That'll be intriguing.
Hey now. Okay, I'm watching that. So yeah, that was week 7?
Week 7.
We're already moving along, it seems like, in this football season. So it's only getting crazier, and let's just say there was a lot of disappointments this week 7 for NFL games.
Yeah, James, I think the disappointment, and again, I don't give a crap about the NFL. I haven't watched the game in its entirety since the Chargers left, and people should know that by now, but injuries, though, have been the major talking point, and from what I had seen on, on ticker tapes, watching some highlights, and I haven't sat through a full game, though, in a long time, and I don't plan on doing it either. But, man, just the guys dropping like flies, man. And I think, James, that I didn't want to go on this tangent, but I want to now because now we're talking about it. This should be clear as day evidence. You can't do an 18-game regular season schedule unless you added 2 bye weeks because the amount of big-name players, Ayuk, Godwin, all these big-name, even Deshaun Watson, all these big-name guys going down with injuries, non-contact injuries after a big hit. This, I think, James, should be proof in the pudding. You can't make an 18-game regular season work unless you make a lot of concessions are made, to eliminate the preseason. It's one game, or I just don't know, James, if you can actually make and expand the regular season work further than 17 weeks. I just don't think you can.
I liked it when it was 16 games, 17 weeks. I liked it when it was that. I also think the trading deadline should go maybe to week 11 or 12.
Not so early in the season. Yeah, I agree.
Remember, it was earlier, too. I think they moved it, up a week. I'm not saying be like NHL where you have that waiver or the trade deadline at the end of the year. I do like that, by the way.
The All-Star break, usually.
That is cool. But, I think they should move the trade deadline up just to give those teams, a chance that really think they could compete and ones that aren't. Because there's some teams out here that, even though they're like 4-3, 4-2, that could just be foreshadowing a bad regular rest of the regular season. So I would like to see it. Another thing I forgot to mention is with Tua Tagovailoa. He's going to come back next week. I forget against whom, but he won't wear one of those
Guardian
protective
caps.
guarding caps. Thank you. And that worries me as hell.
Same.
I mean, maybe he's going to change his playing style where he won't be on the run, but that'll hinder his productivity, and then he can still get hurt getting sacked. So
exactly.
when I heard that today, I think it was where he's like, "Oh no, I made up my mind. I'm not going to protect myself in that way. I'm just thinking, oh, well, that's the last we're going to see of him being played. If he gets another concussion, he's got to be done after that. It's just one of these risks that sports, athletes take, and it's just worse in the NFL and in hockey. It's just worse in that way. But yeah, that's it for week 7.
Yeah, James, I think I'm just more startled by the number of guys getting hurt, and I think it's the brand name guys getting hurt. Ayuk getting hurt after the hold-in process that happened in Santa Clara with the Niners and, Deshaun Watson. I think, James, and again, like I said, I don't care about the NFL. I have not supported the product since they left San Diego in 2016, 2017. And I know you can say that it's Cleveland sports fans and stuff, but I still, James, just don't like the fact that they booed Deshaun Watson or cheered that he got hurt. I mean, you can say what it was, James, about, it's Cleveland, it's this and that. I just don't think, though, that you should be out here cheering injuries, on regardless of who you root for, right? Because, that's someone missing their job now because of an injury like that now, and they can't go to work now. Yeah, I could say, well, they're making $90 million. They're doing this. At the end of the day, though, like we said, James, guys want to come back from the injury because they want to play. Like I said, should Kawhi Leonard retire?
Yes.
as we'll talk about the NBA. Here you said last week that you didn't think he should retire. Now all of a sudden you're flipping.
Yeah, because he got hurt because he's sitting again.
But I think, James, regardless that, I just don't appreciate fans, regardless of who they root for, cheering for someone to get injured and then be knocked out of the game, then miss an entire season because of injury.
I was trying to think, when has that happened where the home team cheered one of their players getting hurt? I'm trying to remember.
I don't think ever, honestly, that I can remember.
In any sport, I'm trying to remember where it's like, oh, good, we don't have to see him play ever again, or he's going to be gone. Which it could be the case. They would just have to bite the bullet with the salary cap. I think it was like
$73 million.
Yeah, I mean they might even do that. That might have
$73 million,
and that's for the next 3 years as well. I think
a lot of dead cap.
But yeah, I'm trying to remember. Like, did any other? And it doesn't shock me with Cleveland. I know Philly probably did that.
Philly fans have booed Santa Claus, like we said a couple of weeks ago on Sports Hour.
Yeah,
then the Sports Minute.
I can see Ben Simmons. I can see that happening. I know they were trying to encourage him at one point, and then I think finally booed him, and then he left. But yeah, it's a different animal, and they're so desperate to win. And I think also karma had something to do with this as well. I don't know. I don't know how to feel. I mean, if you're a Browns fan, you're in the same, horrible circle as like a Raider fan and a Jet fan and a Panther fan now.
Fan. Come at me if you want to, folks.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying with the NFL, the way their organizations are run right now and how their teams just keep losing despite bringing in players. It's like those 4 are just snake bitten right now. And the Titans are not too far behind. The Patriots are right there. The Jags are right there. There's a lot of misery in just Cleveland. It almost feels like Cleveland shouldn't even came back. It's been 25 years. It's just like a few playoff appearances, nothing really special. They're going to be moving, I think, soon. So it's just, maybe the Browns shouldn't even came back.
Yeah, again, I don't like it. I mean, you can say what you want about me not knowing anything about the NFL or American football in general, but just as a sports fan in general, you don't do that. Regardless of how much you may hate the player for playing for your team, you just don't do that. I mean, and sadly, Cleveland and San Diego and Buffalo are all in the same boat with sports in general, not just the NFL. With that, James, we'll segue to the NBA, my man. On the eve of a new season, the 24-25 campaign tips off with a pair of games. On Tuesday, the Celtics raised their 18th NBA title banner to the Garden Raptors against the New York Knickerbockers, while Ant and the Wolves take on the Jameses, JJ Redick, and the Los Angeles Lakers at Crypto.com Arena in the first two games of the year. James, let's kind of, in a way, talk a bit about the season. I first want to kind of talk about a couple of things on the radar for folks to keep in mind as we talk about this. Kemba Walker, Gordon Hayward, Joe Harris, Derrick Rose, AJ Griffin, Ish Smith, and Danny Green have all announced their intentions to retire over the course of the offseason. The new head coaches in place: Jordy Fernandez in Brooklyn, Charles Lee in Charlotte, Kenny Atkinson in Cleveland, J.B. Bickerstaff is back coaching in Detroit, J.J. Redick is mentioned in Los Angeles, Mike Budenholzer coaching Phoenix, and Brian Keefe, longtime journeyman assistant coach, now head coach of the Washington Wizards, starting up operation as time goes on. Also, James, a very interesting note that I just saw too. The Spurs have elected to play two alternate site games at the Moody Center on the campus of UT Austin in February. When they come back, it looks like maybe after their trip to Paris to play the Pacers in Paris, France. We have the Heat playing the Wizards in Mexico City for the annual game in Mexico City, Mexico. And of course, James, the Callan McClurg Memorial In-Season Tournament continues, sponsored by Emirates Airlines, the upcoming season for the NBA Cup this year as well going on for the in-season tournament. So, of course, James, also more importantly as well, my man, two other bullet points. No games on Election Day as mentioned as well, like they usually have. And also a 23%, James, reduction in back-to-back games, 4 games in 5 nights or 8 games in 12 days as well, due to curbing load management. So, James, where would you like to start, my man, with some of the off-the-court discussion here tonight for the NBA preview?
Yeah, I forgot about that horrible play-in tournament. I forgot to mention that.
Oh, come on, it's great. What are you talking about? You should name it after me, for God's sakes. Let's go.
Yeah, just shorten the season. I mean, yeah, if we're talking about back-to-backs, and I heard Joel Embiid is going to limit playing the second, I think, of the back-to-backs. I think everybody wants to do that after a while. Just shorten the damn regular season. If nobody wants to play back-to-back, just spread the games out. You know what I mean? Just have, like, you know, some teams play on Monday, some teams play on Tuesday, and just go, you know, every other day with teams playing if it comes to that. But yeah, I don't care I don't even care about the tournament unless your name had it on, like the hockey tournament does. The new coaches, I was like, I don't even know who the hell some of them are. Kenny Atkinson, I worry about him with Cleveland. I mean, they had a mutiny to get rid of J.B. Bickerstaff. He, of course, went to
And who's
Detroit.
not to say, James, that it happens again if they don't do well again in Cleveland?
Thank you. That's what I was just about to say. I might have to take a drink about that and do the Trae Young kind of thing. Oh, Kenny Atkinson gone. And then, hey, for Quinn Snyder in Atlanta, it's like it's not a guarantee there too. They went young there. They traded for some picks. They traded away DeJounte Murray, and they got younger in Atlanta, but maybe not better. Even like not even to the play-in, maybe so, because the East is so bad. I guess you want to get in maybe to some divisional talk, right?
Yeah, let's kind of do that, James. We will hopscotch around. We'll start out west, James. We'll start in our neck of the woods in the Pac division. I really feel like, James, this is the most wide open division in the NBA because of the uncertainty. And I think, James, we talked about this maybe 2 weeks ago. Every team in this division has seemed to take a step or two back, maybe minus Sacramento, who went out there and got DeMar DeRozan. I think they have the reigning coach of the year in Mike Brown. Maybe that was a year prior. But still, though, Warriors losing Clay, Clippers losing Paul George, Kawhi Leonard is out indefinitely. Now you're relying on James Harden to lead that team with Tyronn Lue coaching. Lakers are going to be a freaking soap opera this year with both of the Jameses and J.J. Redick, who's going to be probably fired after the first 41 games of the year. The Suns bring in Mike Budenholzer, but again, that's probably, James, the last big three we have right now in the NBA. Durant, Beal, and Devin Booker. James, what do you like or dislike in the Pac division across the board? I really think, James, this is probably the more knockout, drag-out division in the entire NBA because of where every team is at, minus the Kings and Sacktown.
Yeah, the Warriors will be without Klay Thompson for the first time since, 2011, I think it is. So that would be a weird scene. I know they brought in slow-mo Kyle Anderson, but it feels like they're just letting the seasons play out now with Stephen Curry. It's like the last time he'll ever win was in 2022.
Also, James, does it probably also feel like that the Warriors are maybe weren't as active, or they didn't want to re-sign Klay because they're up against the apron and way over the salary cap with the taxes included on top of maybe the second apron being violated as well with the CBA?
The problem was too giving Draymond Green his, Andrew Wiggins his. You do that with Curry, no doubt, but then you also have a bunch of those big men draft picks that didn't go as well. That really hurt
James
them.
Wiseman, for example.
And then before that, Jordan Bell. I thought he was going to be the one to replace Draymond Green.
And how about the fact too that they don't leave that Jordan Kuminga's like, I don't want to talk about an extension right now. Like, give me a break. What are you guys talking about?
Yeah, if they lose him, they're in huge trouble after this season. The Clippers, looking at them, they lose Paul George to the Sixers. They didn't want to give him 4 years. They only gave him 3 or extended him 3. He won them games last year when Kawhi was hurt, and then James Harden wasn't as good. They're going to be relying more on their bench this year. Hopefully, they
not a good recipe.
No, and they're gonna be a fast break team, but eventually they're gonna be sloppy. I feel like they can have all the alley oops they want, like they've had in preseason, but it's not gonna be. I don't like now with Kawhi sitting out indefinitely, which could mean however long. They might not even make the play-in my opinion. The West maybe is that deep, according to if the Southwest holds up. The Lakers, with all the drama and the new people in there, the interesting thing, will Bronny, come to Oceanside and play as a South Bay Laker, or will he start the year with the regular Lakers? That's going to be interesting to note if he starts the season with the Lakers.
He'll make the roster. He'll be on the roster tomorrow when the game tips off and him and Dad are on the floor. Then he gets subbed out. Then he gets sent to UCLA training facility to play with the South Bay Lakers in a couple of days.
That's what it feels like. I don't think you draft someone that low and expect him to be NBA ready.
He's going to be a work in progress.
Hell yeah. The Phoenix Suns, you mentioned a big 3, but I don't even consider them a big 3. I mean, none.
A big and a half?
Just one. one,
D booking some injured, aging veterans in Durant and Beal,
right.
in a coach who, again, got fired after winning a title in Milwaukee.
That was a mutiny as well, just because Giannis didn't want him there anymore, even after winning a championship a year later. Anyway, with the Suns,
Crazy.
It just feels like, since Tatum got his championship finally, Booker's that one guy where it's like, you need to solidify yourself. And Bill with his back injuries.
James, can we put Luka in that conversation yet, in your opinion?
Yeah, because he made the finals. So he's right there with Booker. Yeah, definitely.
They're both right there now.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. The Suns, they didn't make any changes either. They didn't get a true point guard that can, facilitate, nothing like that. They're going to rely on KD and, his jersey number at 35. When does Booker get tired of being there? That's going to be a big thing too. I kind of remember him disengaging a little bit from the team last year.
It seemed like it at the very end, and I think that triggered that sweep at the hands of Minnesota in the postseason.
Yeah, body language does
certainly
everything.
A disconnect for sure.
Sacramento, though, you mentioned getting DeMar DeRozan via trade. I love that move, and I think that only propels them even more. They made some other good moves, I think. It all comes down to how Sabonis and Fox plays together. And then what's good, they had Harrison Barnes, but I think having DeRozan and knowing that you can throw it into him and he can do his mid-range thing, I think that would be a good thing for Sacramento to slow things down a bit. and run a good half court offense. You got shooters too there, so it's fine.
Especially if possessions are kind of getting wonky and they're kind of getting a little sloppy.
That happens all the time in this NBA. Pick and roll, pass for a three. Pick and roll, pass for a three.
Work off the screen, get a three.
I hate that crap. Oh my God, roll to the damn basket, you big. Never mind. Sacramento, I think, wins the Pacific Division.
I think so too. I just think though, with everyone regressing in some capacity, Warriors are coming back to earth, Lakers in transition, Clippers are dealing with their own roster issues right now, and Phoenix, you don't know what's going to happen. It could be a thing, James, where all three of those players just don't seem to mesh. The alpha male, I think, is going to be Booker because he's been there for 10 years in the Valley
Wow.
of the Sun, if you can believe that already. My goodness. James, we'll move from the Pac to the Northwest Division, where I think, James, I know I said this and I kind of, hold your feet to the fire, but these three teams are going to be the top three seeds in the Western Conference, in my opinion. Denver, Minnesota, Oklahoma City versus the rest of the field for the top three. Again, Denver, champs a year prior. Minnesota, I know about the trade for Karl Anthony Towns, or trading away Cat. And then Oklahoma City, young, budding core, getting in Alex Caruso. Portland, wait till next year. Utah, bring back the mountain jerseys finally from the John Stockton Malone era. James, who do you like, though, in the Northwest Division? I like all three of those teams. It's hard to pick, but they're all going to be 1, 2, 3, I think, in the Western Conference top 10.
Let's start at the bottom. I just want to get Portland out of the way. Scoot Henderson is there, and he played a little bit better later. He was even sent to the G League at the start of the last season.
City remix.
That's who I'll see November 8th, I think, here.
Yes.
Against San Diego. DeAndre Ayton, I hope he's gone after this year. I mean, that dude got an extension. He got traded to Portland, and he's just lost. And this preseason, he's been awful.
James, so I don't mean to interject already, but James, do you feel like maybe that Ayton not coming up clutch or not playing well in the NBA Finals is really kind of, in a way, stayed up here for the last 3 years?
It's like, I'm good. I'm one of the best bigs in the league. And then Monte Williams kind of, him and Monte kind of had a little fallout. And he got extended with the Suns and then eventually traded away. Monte was gone. It was just an ugly scene. I think that just put him...
very tough divorce in Phoenix for sure.
I think Aiden's even in that, Ben Simmons type of, range where he has all that talent. He has all that promise. But at least he's playing games unlike Ben. But still, mentally, they're just shot, it feels like. So Portland, nothing really to look forward to. Utah, they have a young, kind of fun core. You have, John Collins. And Colin Sexton's always a beast on defense.
Lauri Markkanen,
facilitate, be a triple threat. He's very cool too. Remember, they started off kind of well last year, then faded. I think Markkanen was even an all-star, I want to say.
I think he was, actually.
Yeah, if I remember right. But they'll be fourth place. And here's where it gets fun as hell. I think Denver gets third. I think Russell Westbrook gets in Wilson did in Denver. Like Wilson did in Denver, Westbrook will get in the way of things for
Nuggets
the Nuggets
country. Let's ride.
Oh, would you imagine that? We just got rid of a Russell in Denver. Why?
Too bad it's not Russell from Up.
That must be the old dude, right?
No, it was the kid. Hi, my name is Russell, and I have just met you.
I got to see that, I guess. But I think he's going to get in the way of things unless he plays a bench role. I know Christian
Mike Malone will probably keep his rear end in check, though.
That's hard to do, man. I as much as I love his energy, Westbrook, there's just times where it's just like, hey, it's too much, or he has a thing with the crowd, or something with the teammate, something with the opponent. There's always something with him. I love him, but yeah. But Christian Braun is now in the starting role because KCP went to Orlando. So they lose another key player. They've been losing key players ever since they won the title a couple of years ago.
Kind of part of the course, though, James, with a team who wins it all, though, that you kind of start losing pieces because guys get paid more by the Magic, Detroit, some other, Charlotte, for example, that, like you said, though, those small market teams can afford to kind of in a way pay that salary just to bring in, like a veteran leader into an organization who's on the upswing.
But not in the right roles at all.
Exactly.
It's going to be all on Jamal Murray. I know he had a great series against the Lakers, I think, in the second round, I want to say, or first round, I think it was. But
game winners, and then he kind of let his emotions get the best of him by, hurling the heating pad on the floor and the towel on the floor at the referee when calls weren't going their way. Like, it kind of got a little ugly there in round 2 when they made their exit.
When they lost to Minnesota, he had a bad series.
Divisional opponent beats them at home, and you name it.
I think it's all on him this year. Jokic is going to do his thing, but it's on Murray to be consistent and healthy.
Got to be healthy.
Thank you. Yeah, same thing. Same thing. Minnesota will be second. I'm going to say they're going to have to adjust, I think, to not having Cat in there who you throw the ball into, or you can have that dumbass, slip screen and pick and roll and shoot a three. Please don't do that, Will Gobert. Oh my! I will break this new chair if I see Gobert shoot
break
a
three. The TV watching the game on Tuesday.
Oh my God! I cannot just stay in. Well, get out of there at 2 seconds, 2.5, but get back in there. But yeah, I think
Gobert for 3, bang!
Oh my God! Julius Randle, it's going to take some time for him to get going there. DiVincenzo is going to have hopefully a breakout.
Into the starting 5, or is he going to become a 6-man?
I think he's in the starting 5. Kyle Anderson is gone now. I think he's proven to be an offensive threat, two-way threat. Defensively, he's great. Offensively, though, he kind of broke out with the Knicks. I just hope it wasn't like 1 year hype with the offense with DiVincenzo.
You hope not, because I think, though, in the time that I've seen him play when he was, a rook with Milwaukee, here was a guy who was like, first guy off the bench, that 2020 team, the 21 championship team in Milwaukee, and now all of a sudden he's going to become a starter in Minnesota. But
he wasn't hitting.
You have OKC winning the Northwest Division, huh?
Yeah. But back to Dante real quick. I've never seen him make threes until here. I mean, he did little with Milwaukee, but last year with the Knicks.
Only in spurts, though. It wasn't until going to the Knicks that he kind of really found the stroke, though.
Playoff time, I guess he was really hyped up with the Garden crowd. Yeah, I got Oklahoma City. They are deep as hell. Harvenstein came with Caruso to what already they have. The two, what are their names? Williams. They have the same name but spelled differently.
Jalen Williams, and then they got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yeah, Chet Holmgren. You throw in there, and Dart. They have just a plethora of talent. They're so deep, and they have the picks to even go deeper as well if they need to. If someone goes down with an injury, just keep that in mind. So yeah, I got the Thunder winning that Northwest Division, and I think they're going to have it maybe by 6 games over Minnesota.
This is easily the best division in the Western Conference by leaps and bounds of the imagination. Because book it. All 3 of these teams, I think, are the top 3 seeds in the Western Conference. Let's, James, segue down to the Southwest. The defending Western Conference champion Dallas Mavericks, again, retooling with Klay Thompson now in the fold to go alongside Luka and Kyrie. An up-and-coming Houston team, hoping for a better year from Memphis and hoping for better years for the Pelicans and the Spurs with year 2 with Wembanyama. James, Dallas, I think, is my pick. Really hoping, though, that those bottom 4 teams, James, make some sort of improvements, man, because they could be looking at a major games back deficit behind Dallas in the upcoming season at this rate.
Yeah, Dallas, I think they'll be just fine. I know they lost Tim Hardaway Jr. to the Pistons. Yikes. That's a long way down. But I want to see how Klay Thompson fits in with Kyrie and Luka facilitating
his offense, too.
That too. And I know last year it just seemed like they could have Cleaver shooting threes or, Tim Hardaway Jr.
Jason Richardson.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But maybe he could take that. Clay can just take that role from Hardaway Jr. where he doesn't have to do much. He can be more defensive and just work on that a little more from years past. So I think Clay should fit in well. It's just, hey, it's Kyrie and Luka gonna fight over, the last second shots
Yeah,
or
we've talked about
shots.
that though in the past about, comes down to the wire, you're down one, who's going to take the shot?
Me. But yeah, last year they had that run to the finals and it was just experience over the youth. But this year, everyone has grown up. When you talk about those three Northwestern teams, it feels like, well, two of those. The other division, Southwest divisional opponents, shoot.
Kind of underwhelming.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out who would be second, Memphis or New Orleans. I want to go New Orleans just because Ja. I don't know if he'll get hurt again. They have Desmond Bain, Zach Edey is there, and shout out to what was his name? Yamamoto. I forget his name, but that dude's gonna have a two-way. I think he's a Japanese player. That's pretty cool to see. Memphis is gonna be gritty, kind of gritty. Not as the past. New Orleans with CJ McCollum. They get DeJounte Murray off of a trade. I think with Zion maybe coming back and being good. I just want to see him on the damn floor. Maybe I'm going New Orleans second, Memphis third. Houston just signed their main two players to extensions today, I think it was. I think it was Smith and Seguin to big extensions. So that was really good for them. They're not going to blast off yet. They won't make a play in. They'll be on the outside looking in. Same with the Spurs. I love the move of Chris Paul. He's just there to mentor Wemba along with Seguin and God, who's that other dude? They have 24. They just have those four players really, and that's about it. You just hope they kind of move the needle a little bit to improvement. Vessel. But Spurs should be in last in that division.
Yeah, it's Dallas versus the field in that division. Rockets extensions were made. Memphis, they can't be having injuries and off the court distractions. I really feel like, though. Pelicans could be on the up and up, though. And then the Spurs, I look at maybe one more dismal year, hopefully with Wemby having another year under his belt to get better. That he will eventually get back on top. With that, James, we'll move now to the Eastern Conference. Let's go to the Southeast first, my man. We got Atlanta. Again, Quinn Snyder might be fired every time that we take a sip of water or a sip of beer or whiskey or a Coke on this program. Charlotte, they're in a very much of a rut, though. Miami, Orlando appear to be the top two teams, and then the Wizards are fighting for breadcrumbs as well. James, give me the reasons why Orlando bumps out an Eric Spoelstra-led Heat team for first place in the Southeast Division.
Camaraderie. I feel like Orlando, they're one of those teams that will be even more bumped up. I think they were the 5th seed last year and they defeated Cleveland in the first round. I think they're going to be, you know what? I think they're going to be, should I do this? Yeah, I'm putting Orlando as a 3rd seed. I think they're going to go all the way up this year to their ceiling. I think it's going to be the 3rd seed. I just think they're putting something really, really special together, and they even added Tim Hardaway Jr. along with Panchero, the two brothers, but they're not related. I forget their names.
Franz Wagner and his brother?
Yeah. Oh, they are related, but I thought they weren't it. But I guess one's offensive, one is defensive, I guess, in that way. But yeah, I think Orlando, their camaraderie is just great. More than Miami's. I feel like Miami, there's always something going on with Jimmy Butler and one of his
Jimmy Butler
teammates.
versus the world.
Yeah. As much as I love Jimmy and his way of doing things, there's always something with him and Hero or Bama Adebayo. He kind of disappears in some games in the playoffs. That's why I think Miami would be second. I guess third would be Atlanta. They're going young here. No pun intended. But, yeah, Trae Young is just going to be his team, really, I feel like. And then Charlotte, Washington, whatever. Charlotte would probably be fourth, I guess. It all depends on LaMelo Ball, how healthy he can be. They did bring in Taj Gibson for some veteran presence. I don't know if they'll listen to him. That team is so damn young with Bridges and others. Washington Generals, way of doing things with Kuzma and Poole, and then Valanciunas hopefully will get traded out of there, before the deadline. I feel bad for him. But yeah, that division I think goes to Orlando.
Yeah, I like Orlando as well. Miami is a very close second, I think, if they can, kind of stop the yapping and just play basketball. And then Atlanta third, Charlotte four, Washington five. Brian Keefe has a major Herculean task in the nation's capital. Let's, James, go to the Central Division. This one's pretty intriguing, my man. We talked about this, though. Chicago, again, will we have a fully healthy Lonzo Ball? Cleveland being in transition, players fighting amongst themselves and, again, getting coaches fired left and right. Pistons maybe going for more than 28 straight losses. Then, James, Indiana, Milwaukee. In my opinion, will be 1 and 2 with the Pacers just edging out Milwaukee to start up a pretty good rivalry in that division. James, who do you like in the Central?
Yeah, I agree with you with Indiana first, Milwaukee second. Indiana just seems like they catapult themselves to the top. It feels like they're in that division from last year, getting rid of Milwaukee first and then going on to being the Knicks as well, I believe. So, Indiana, they have nowhere to go but up. Hopefully, Halliburton is healthy and the rest of that team. It's great that Siakam stayed. I was so worried about him leaving. I'm happy he stayed, and it shows you that they're building something special. And when you can persuade someone like that to stay, that's a great thing. Milwaukee, I'm actually really worried about them. I know they
feel the same way as you do because Doc Rivers is there. Maybe his voice is already getting outdated. Scale, Giannis's health, Middleton's health becomes a factor. Like, yikes.
And not even for those reasons either. I think it comes down to Dame not being comfortable there.
That too.
I just feel that aura from last year when he had to do everything himself. Then eventually he got hurt too in that Indiana series.
And in your mind, it becomes a carryover from 23-24 into 24-25.
I just feel depressed when I think about Dame being there with the Bucks. I don't know what it is, but yeah, they're going to be second.
We've been so used to seeing him in Portland for all those years, and him doing it with no one around him to help him out.
Yeah, McCollum left, and he was just stuck with younger players. Cleveland should be third, with Kenyakas in there. I just hope they don't.
I still feel like it's a step back, though. I think after their performance last season and some of the stuff we heard that we talked about during the course of last season, I think where guys were, kind of bickering about playing time and they wanted, JB fired and this and that. Like, I don't know, man.
Jared Allen refused to take that Corazon shot to play in the playoffs. That's when you knew everybody was quitting on the coach. It could happen again. And, maybe they just make the play-in this year. Who knows? If other teams rise in the East, that could happen. Donovan Mitchell, I know he signed an extension to stay along with Allen. Darius Garland just has to perform better. He
needs to.
He was on the old milk carton. Chicago, they'll be a fourth.
Stay healthy, Lonzo, just for the sake of humanity.
That'd be nice. I know he had that preseason game last Wednesday against Minnesota. He made a 3 and I think some other baskets, but that'd be a good sight to see. I think Giddey will start over him possibly in Chicago, but you kind of want to see Kobe White and the young core that they have kind of do a little better progression, I think, but they'll still be bad. Speaking of bad, though, Detroit, I know they added some veteran pieces with Tim Hardaway Jr. I'm trying to remember whom else, but
still paying
I don't
Monty
think it
Williams
matters.
a boatload of cash, too, to not coach the team.
That's just that ownership, Tom Gores. He throws money at anything, and
now he's part owner of the Chargers.
I hope he ruins that, too.
He already has, so they lost to the Cardinals.
Yeah. So Pistons will be bad. Yeah, I think it all goes through Indiana this year with the Central.
I like Indiana slightly over Milwaukee. I think Tyrese Halliburton, that core veteran coach Rick Carlisle, their run in the Callan McClurg in-season tournament last year in November and December to the NBA Cup final against the Lakers in Vegas, them knocking out the Knicks in Game 7 to reignite that rivalry, like that really in a way turned people on their heads in Indianapolis. Speaking of the Adford Knickerbockers, James, a pretty rough, tough, and gruff Atlantic Division led by the NBA champion Boston Celtics, those said New York Knickerbockers, and the Paul George-led Philadelphia 76ers, while the Nets and Raptors bring up the rear, in my opinion, though. James, Boston versus the NBA this year is my thoughts on that. But, James, what say you for the Atlantic Division?
Yeah, Boston should be one. They brought everyone back. White came back for an extension as well, Derek White. It's been a long offseason. But yeah, the Nick trade for Cat, again, it just comes down to him and if he's going to be soft or not. Fans will boo him mercifully if that happens. But Jalen Brunson has to be healthy along with Hart and Mikal Bridges. I hope he becomes a focal point with the scoring with the Knicks. That'll only help them. Because defensively they'll be fine unless Cat becomes soft inside. That's going to be an issue. It's just weird. I never thought Cat and Thibodeau would reunite somewhere else. That just shocked the hell out of me.
And here it happens.
And that trade just shocked the hell out of everyone, I think. Again, I wanted those Nova Knicks to play together. Philadelphia should be third, but they'll be in the playoffs. Paul George will definitely lead them in scoring, I think. Will take kind of the... should it be Maxey? I think Maxey will be leading the team in scoring. George will be second. Embiid kind of taking some of the regular season off. So I think he'll be third in scoring on the team. All of them will have a definite presence in the scoring aspect. I just want to see how they buckle down defensively if they do. But Embiid, this is the time for him now. He doesn't have to shoot all those threes. You have George, you have Maxey, you have that supporting cast around him that could do it. I just want to see him dominate inside like he should, like everybody wants him to.
Not that damn difficult.
No. Toronto with Scotty Barnes and player to be named later. They have a bunch of those on the Knicks, on the old Knicks roster that went to Toronto. RJ Barrett, I hope he has a breakout season with Scotty Barnes. I think he was an all-star last year too for the Raptors, but I hope they have a renaissance season. I don't think it's going to happen though. Nets, they just have a G League team. They have Ben Simmons kind of out there, but I don't know if he'll play the season.
Big deal.
What's that dude they have? 24. I should know his name, but he's gonna have a great year. He had a breakout year last year for the Nets. God, let me look up his name real quick because I don't want to leave him out. That sounds like what's his name? Nick Claxton had a he's coming back, the big man. Cam Thomas was the man I mentioned. Gonna mention he led them in scoring. He's really a good player, facilitator, scorer. Well, from that, Cameron Johnson is there. I don't want to go through all these people. Dennis Schroeder found his way to another team. He's going the Ish Smith route, playing for like 12 teams.
And here Ish Smith just retired.
Yeah. Dorian Finney-Smith, I think, went from the Mavericks to there, and then Bogdanovic went from borough to borough. They're gonna play out the season right there. I feel like for that coach, Jordy Fernandez. I don't even know who the hell that was. I had to look him up. But yeah, I think it all goes through Boston this year for the East.
With that in mind, James, yay or nay, Celtics repeat as NBA champs?
It will be the Celtics versus the Thunder, and the Thunder win in 6 games.
Okay.
That's my surprise.
That is kind of a surprise, honestly. It's tough to repeat, but I still think Boston.
That's why I say that.
Yeah, I know it's tough. I would probably still say Boston at this early stage is still my pick, just because, it feels like everyone has regressed in some fashion across the board. So that is our NBA preview. I guess, James, one other thing.
One more, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
with the Celtics, they were talking about all the years before that they always lost in the first round or they would get injured. Like, it's no guarantee that they'll get back
For sure.
repeating, and injuries could always hit them. So that's why I'm worried about with the Celtics. With Kate
And
Porzingis,
they
even though he was
were,
out,
for a
they won
majority of the
still.
season last year, they were healthy. So I totally get the point.
Yeah, that could change. That could all be changed, and someone else can get there. But yeah, for some reason, I'm really high on the Thunder this year. I really am. I think they're the most. Them and the Celtics are the deepest teams, and that's usually a good recipe for getting to the finals.
I think so. And I also think it's kind of like baseball. I mean, if you get hot at the right time, who knows? But again, it's basketball. It's a little different.
Mm.
With that, James, I did want to, again, and I know that we, talked about a little bit, though. Obviously, I could tell you're not a big proponent of the NBA Cup in-season tournament. I guess, James, any thoughts maybe to pass along with it in general? I'm all for it. I think it's like I said, though, here on Press Row last year, it's a way to get people engaged with the NBA at the beginning of the season because James, I think you and I agree. We have a lot of friends who say I won't watch basketball till the
Christmas.
second half of the season. Me, absolutely, with Christmas Day. I won't watch till Christmas Day. I won't watch until the second half of the season. I won't watch to the playoffs or even the finals. I guess, James, again, I'm very high on the format. Again, I've seen it before, though, in European soccer, Major League Soccer. They do these very much rinky-dink in-season tournaments to, add games to the schedule, but it does add some pretty cool spice. Again, I was all for it because, again, it really, I think, proved to people that small market teams have a chance to win something, whether it's a constellation prize. Again, like I said, go back and watch how the Pacers crowd reacted to a meaningless game and just kind of like as an example, James, a meaningless game in your mind in December, how the fan base was, lit basically at Gainbridge Fieldhouse for a game over Boston. And I guess, James, maybe, give the folks reasons why the NBA Cup is irrelevant in your mind.
I was just thinking that Fieldhouse has been lit since then, with Caitlin Clark there too. That place is rocking, and that's weird. That place hasn't been lit in so long.
And I think her, Caitlin Clark, and Tyrese Halliburton having the Iowa connection too for their alma mater.
I didn't know Tyrese.
I believe so. Yes.
Whoops, I should know that. That is just amazing when you think about it. Okay, why it's irrelevant, the cup? I know it counts toward the regular season, but look at the fan reaction when the Lakers won. Nobody gave a damn. Nobody wanted that banner up there. Everybody wants Larry, not the play-in tournament. Nobody. You know what it does too? I know, again, it counts as a regular season thing unless you get to the final game, but it dumbs down the regular season to me. True. To the point where just put the season at 74 games, right? Just shorten the regular season. If there's no importance to those early games, just shorten the season, and players will play, less back-to-backs if it comes down to that. Just shorten the regular season. Those are my two things where just shorten the season. It dumbs down the regular season. Nobody wants to play in it, really. It's those young players, those young teams that want to do it. Yeah, I agree with you that's what they want to play in. Right. They want to play for something. Right. Cool. But the Lakers ended up winning it and then bowing out in the second round, right? First round? Yes. To the Nuggets, so it didn't really matter that they won the play-in. It propelled them in a way where they were having a rough start, and then they ended up, going on a good run and making the playoffs okay. Or the play-in, I think, right? Didn't they make the play-in?
And I think that would go to my point, though, about that could springboard a team like the Pacers, for example, who went to the conference final, and lost to Boston in the third round of the conference playoffs. Is you have a team that's scuffling, and they use that as a springboard to elevate their season, a la the New York Mets, 22-33 at one point in the season, and they kind of used, the All-Star break, Grimace coming out or whoever, they bring in from viral YouTube videos to springboard the team. That's why I think I'm a big proponent, and also that it gives a small market franchise a chance to maybe hang their hat on something again. I know that the Lakers won it all, but like I said on press row back in December, like, look at the crowd in Indianapolis, but also look at what that prize money would have done for Indiana, for example. Like, that would have given them something to really, like, yeah, we didn't win the Larry O'Brien, but we got something to hang our hat on.
There was one thing that LeBron said that was cool about winning that play-in tournament, where he was winning the money for those, young bench players that were on the Lakers last year. The ones that he eventually wants to trade. So I guess that was cool about that. But again, I think it just dumbs down the regular season and just eliminate the 8 games of the regular season. I think we'll just be fine with that. It's a gimmick, and they're losing viewership as well. Like, I'd even watch that because I know that's not the NBA Finals. That's not the ultimate goal. So priorities have been shifted, it seems like. And again, it's great for those young. It'd been cool if, like, 2 unexpected teams went to that final in that
Say
tournament.
Indiana and, I don't know, Charlotte, for example.
Well, would it be East and West?
It wouldn't matter, I don't think. Or it
Okay.
might. I think it might have mattered, but okay, say it was Indiana, Utah.
That'd be cool for them because that, hey, they're probably not going to make the playoffs, but they have something to hang their hat on. And
Detroit making it last year when they were losing 30 straight games.
Yeah, I mean, that would be great for them, but not for the Lakers, where they only hang up, championship banners.
So, James, now with that, let me now rebuke and counter. I'm all for the play-in tournament, or for the in-season tournament. I don't like the play-in tournament. I think it should be the top 8 teams, regardless of how close you get. If you're not top 8, you're not top 8.
I'm getting my tournaments all mixed up. That's the reason why they shouldn't have both, in my opinion. Yeah,
I'm glad they changed the names, though, to just the NBA Cup and then the actual play-in tournament.
Things that don't matter, part 1. Things that don't matter, part 2. I mean, it helped the Lakers last year. Both tournaments did, but in the
end, it's. I've been accustomed to the top 8 in the NBA.
Fine.
Like I know that was a thing. Like, look, that was a thing for COVID and the Mickey Mouse World Series and the Mickey Mouse NBA final of the play-in tournament, where you brought teams into the bubble that were close when the season stopped operation. At the end of the day now, go back to 8 teams. I mean, if you're not top 8, you're not in the postseason. Don't be giving teams handouts, at that stage of the season. That's more of like, I'm for the NBA Cup. I don't like the play-in tournament because you can't be rewarding 10 of the 15 teams in the conference making the postseason, as I'll get to with MLS. I don't like 9 teams making it out of a 15-team in Major League Soccer. I don't want 10 teams making for the NBA to play one extra game to try to sneak in as the 8 seed.
How do you feel about MLB having that extra wild card team?
I'm all for it.
Or
I'd be fine if they went to 7 or 8 to add more markets.
Wow. You had more useless baseball.
It may be more useless, but you get San Diego, you get small market teams in there.
But you end up with New York and LA in the World Series. So it's just like the inevitable is going to happen. The cream will rise to the top, I feel like, in any sport. That's why I feel like with the NFL, they shouldn't have as many wild cards. I think it's a waste of time having all these games. Yeah, I'm fine with that. I don't like how there's a Peacock game. There's a game on Monday now for the wild card round. I think it's just too much. And eventually, those teams are going to lose because the Chiefs will have the referees in their back pockets.
And they'll have home field, and they'll win again for a 3rd year in a row.
Cold temperatures. You have Miami going to cold temperatures.
I mean, look at the Chargers going to Cincinnati in 81 for the Freezer Bowl, where it was like minus 59-degree wind chill.
Like whatever. I just don't like the NBA Cup or the play-in. I just want things the way they were. Shorten the season. Get these assholes playing all the games they can. Have legit injuries. and then sit out. That's why it's like I think I'm gonna watch less NBA at the start than I ever have, just because he's gonna sit out, they're gonna sit out, they're gonna
And on
sit
top of the
out.
fact that Turner's losing the rights after the season.
I forgot to mention that as my first point. I am gonna be tomorrow, or coming up tomorrow. I'm gonna be watching that 3 p.m. I'm not going anywhere. 3 p.m. till bedtime. It's gonna be TNT all the time. They'll be there in Boston for their banner ceremony, and I can't wait for that. And I'm gonna be sad when it's gone. I'm gonna be really sad.
Yeah, James. And we'll move now, my man, to the NHL. We're roughly about 5 to 6 games into the season. Some teams have played 7 games, some teams have played 8 games. And already, James, I think the panic meter or the panic button's been hit by a couple of teams
Yep.
already in the NHL with their records right now. James, trying to remember here. 1, 2, 4 teams come to mind, and they're all in the Western Conference when it comes to panic concern right now with their records. And let me first, James, start with, let's see, do I want to go Pack or do I want to go Central first? DEFCON 1 is Nashville. And I said, James, on this program, when I gave my bold predictions, that the Nashville Predators, who hit home run after home run with free agency, getting Steven Stamkos and Jonathan Marchessault, the big swings at the free agent players would not result in a, playoff run or a Stanley Cup victory in year one, because, as I always say, super teams don't always win right away. Case in point, Nashville's 0-5 to start the season, and their goal differential is already at -13. How about 10 goals in 5 games for a club led by Steven Stamkos, Jonathan Marchessault, and other key cogs of their team? 0-4 at home so far, have also lost away from home. 5 straight losses, all in regulation time. And already, James, Jonathan Marchessault calling out teammates for their play so far. I already feel like right now that there's going to be some kind of maybe a move made if this continues on with Barry Trotz, the GM, I believe, probably forcing out the head coach at this rate. So DEFCON 1, Nashville for sure. Moderate concern, Edmonton. This was my Western Conference champion in my bold prediction. They got up to another 0-4 start. Then they won their past 2 games. They're finally scoring goals. They still have a -12 goal differential, but they lost again to now go to 2-4-0 to start the season. I'd say I'm moderately concerned about Edmonton because goaltending has been another big problem. Your boy Stuart Skinner's been scuffling as of late. There's no one really backing him up right now. Lack of production from Connor McDavid so far. Leon Draisaitl's also been kind of, in a way, held at bay as well. 12 goals scored. They've given up 12 more goals than they've scored so far for a very much tough -12 goal differential. 2 wins and 6 tries. 7th place right now in the Pack division. Then I go to Colorado, James, another team who got to another 0-4 start. They finally snapped that skid, beating Anaheim a couple days ago. They have basically their whole team back, James. They're healthy. I think minus Gabriel Landeskog, but 2-4-0 to start their campaign. They're also in the negative in goal differential. They have won back-to-back games over both the Ducks and the Sharks over the course of the past couple days. So I think that Edmonton and Colorado are my moderate concern. And my other one, James, San Jose, 0-4-2. But again, Macklin Celebrini is out. And by the way, reports have come in. He's out 2 more weeks with that hip injury he suffered during the loss to St. Louis. Again, you should not be concerned, though, if you're a team like the Sharks, though, about the season. Again, you have Celebrini. I know he's hurt, but again, you have a lot of young kids playing on this roster. You have question marks in goal. Again, 0-4-2. You've got 2 points, so you're also -14 in goal differential. And you have identical records. You're 0-2-1 at home and on the road so far to start. So those are my 4 kind of concern right now. I think the major concern right now I have, James, has got to be Nashville being 0-5 and what they did, though, in free agency.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I know some of those names you're talking about. And I guess for the Oilers, we remember how bad of a start they got off to last year. They fired, their coach, and they went on from there. You can't do that this year. You can't fire the coach this year unless it was a whole mutiny. I guess the Avalanche, they've won 2 in a row, so they're a little bit better, but you would have thought they would be starting off better. I guess mine. Well, first of all, let me go the positive route. I
Please
think it'd
do.
be Calgary at 4-0. I didn't see that coming. Seattle Kraken at 4-2. That's a lot of fun there. I love that. The hockey club Utah 4. I
I
can't
think
say
they're
that.
becoming your new favorite team, my friend.
Hey, if those prices, that's a concession.
Where,
I'll
where,
go.
where do I
I'll
sign
go
up
for
for
that.
a flight to Salt Lake City with James Gonzales to do C2C at night from Delta Center?
I'll do that. Um, the Blues, I think too, because I think a lot of people counted them out, but they're 4-2 as well. The Wild are
Tough
three and
division.
0. Yeah, that's really a black and blue division. But yeah, I think those are the positives there, and then probably my negatives, the ones like you mentioned, I'll agree with those. But let me go to the East because there's a few teams or clubs I know there where I was kind of hoping the Red Wings. I know they're 1-3-1, but I wanted them to make a move to make the playoffs this year. I kind of wanted that. Um, I think you were a little bit high on them too when you were doing your NHL preview.
Yeah, I was high with them, I believe, re-signing Patrick Kane. They re-signed Mo Sider. I think, though, it just boils down to goaltending, man. And I think they had to put one of their goalies on waivers because they were carrying
That's what
3
it was.
goalies, and Ville Hosso got put on waivers, which is kind of like a shocking move. Like he was a pretty top prospect in their pipeline, had played sparingly here and there, but really hasn't just, really just didn't pan out, sadly.
They've lost 4 straight, by the way. So I'm looking at the Flyers. The Red Wings, I know they're probably hit and miss. They're 2-3. Sabres at 2-4. I guess I was hoping for a little bit better for both of those clubs
I
as
was hoping a
well.
lot for Buffalo. Then bringing Lindy Ruff back into the equation. He's not, he knows the organization. He's been a proven winner wherever he's gone as a coach. But just whether it's goaltending, lack of scoring, there's a lot of factors right now in Buffalo that just are not clicking right now on all cylinders.
But for the East, when you think of positive, maybe the no, I think everybody's where they're supposed to be. Honestly,
I think
when
New
it comes
Jersey
to the
might be a
rest,
little bit of a surprise just
that's who
because
I
like
was going
the
to mention.
Rangers are in that division, the Isles are in that division. Carolina, also I think is in that division too. Like, Toronto's kind of in a way maybe a little bit of a surprise too with their kind of ratchety start so far to the season.
Yeah, but I expect them to, make the playoffs. But yeah, with the Devils having 11 points, but the Rangers, Capitals, they've won 3 straight, and you figure they'll rise to the top.
Slow starts for both
Um,
teams though.
yeah, but they'll find their way. So yeah, maybe the Devils are the only surprise. It's good to see the Panthers not really have a slow start. They're 4-2-1, with 9
Doing that with a lot of
points.
injuries too right now.
That's always a tough thing. And then with the yeah, so I guess those are mine, positive, negative. I got to get more into it. I followed some more groups on social media, so I've seen some
Beautiful.
news. And I was trying to remember that goalie from the Flyers because it was like, oh, that's a big deal because usually you don't do that, but he's been that bad, I guess.
Yeah, I guess positives, James, and believe it or not, my man, I actually left a team out of my bold prediction list. Winnipeg. The Jets are 5-0, my friend, in a very, like you said, like blue collar, tough and gruff division. Them and Dallas, Utah, all of a sudden has come to fruition. The Blues are hanging around at this rate. So I think the Jets are probably a very good surprise. A 5-0 club.
Yeah.
Calgary being 4-0-1. Again, I thought that this team may have been tanking for the top pick of them trading away Jacob Markstrom. So far, so good for them. The Kings kind of running this back with that veteran group again, losing Drew Doughty, but some of the young kids that have come up from Ontario have played exceptionally well so far. Other surprises, or maybe some other good notes. Pittsburgh. Sidney
Yeah.
Crosby surpassing 1,600 points of getting Malkin 500 career goals. Columbus, I think is sadly, I really don't know like how to phrase it, but like what they've gone through over the course of the off season with Johnny Gaudreau's death. By the way, major salute, by the way, to the Blue Jackets organization. I watched their home opener, James, last week, I believe, against Florida. Matthew Tkachuk, the team captain for the Panthers, couldn't make it to the game. He's been battling a viral infection for the past week or so. He's been sick. And Matthew and Johnny were teammates in Calgary. And Matthew put a very heartfelt statement out saying, I can't be with the team today, but please know that my love goes to Johnny's family, goes to his wife, goes to the fans. And, I wanted to salute Steve Mears, the new TV voice of the Blue Jackets on Bally Sports Ohio, or FanDuel Sports Ohio, and Greg Murray, their PA announcer, for really, James, handling a very, really doing an amazing job, through tragedy, to be able to handle the pregame pageantry of the family coming onto the ice, then kind of in a way like retiring Johnny's number, more of a remembrance banner being dropped. And the Blue Jackets, fell behind. They came back. They got within one, but couldn't tie the game. And, James, I've been in those spots, though, where you have to make, where you're in a way leading that sort of, ceremony. And, we did that in San Diego last Friday for our home opener. We did a moment of silence for Johnny and Matthew's passing. Blue Jackets, though, 2-3 on the season, but I think, though, that everyone's heart is with that organization across the board, regardless of who they root for. But I think, James, we got a pretty good list of some, good things and, some panic meters right now in the NHL. Would you agree?
Yeah, I got to start watching more. I think all the postseason baseball happening, I kind of got lost in that sauce. So I got to get back on the ice. But wait, here comes basketball. So yeah, I gotta be locked in for the hockey, definitely. I didn't even think about Winnipeg. I don't know why. I just assumed they were doing bad, but
because my dumbass left them off the bold prediction list 2 weeks ago before the season started.
But I guess you weren't really expecting anything from them, and then, but yeah,
my bold prediction was going to be that Connor Hellebuck was like top 3 in Vezina Trophy voting. He's probably going to win the damn thing now at this rate with how he's played. He's been incredible.
Is that the Rookie of the Year?
No, Vezina's for the top goalie.
Oh, that's good.
Celebrini will win the Calder still, I think, even with him missing 3 weeks of gameplay.
That would be something.
Calder being the Rookie of the Year.
So, yeah, I'm liking that for Winnipeg because they need something positive up there. They need to get back to like winning. I know it's been scarce there, so I'm probably happy for them, along with Utah and some of the other prizes. The hockey club. I can't do that. They need a name.
Club, baby. Going to the hockey club.
You gotta say that every time now when we do a we're starting up a hockey segment. Hell yeah, I'm down for that.
Can we
going to the hockey?
Can we have somebody out there change the lyrics of "Into Club" from 50 Cent to "Into
Hockey Club"? I can make one. I can make
a little AI generated.
Hell yeah, let's do that.
Holy crap, man, that'd be insane.
Let's go to the pitch.
Why not go to the pitch? The MLS Cup, the MLS Audi Club, the Audi MLS Cup playoffs. Yes, Jim Mora, we're talking playoffs. We'll start operation coming up on Tuesday with the first round of the wild card matches. James, this is a very interesting format to say the least, man. They take the top 9 teams in each of the conferences, the West and East. 8 plays 9 in a 1-game single elimination game to play the top seed in each conference. They then play 2 out of 3. Then, of course, the conference semis, conference finals, and the MLS Cup final for the Phil Anschutz Trophy is a single match going forward. Of course, James, that guy Lionel Messi, Inter Miami CF, 74 points, smashing the single season point total for MLS history. Top overall seed, winning the Supporters Shield. They get home field throughout the entire postseason. A lot of people are betting on them to win it all this year. Also in the mix in the Eastern Conference, it'll be 4 versus 5, Orlando versus Charlotte, 3 versus 6, Cincinnati versus New York City, and 2 versus 7, Columbus playing the New York Red Bulls, better known back in the day as the New York, New Jersey Metro Stars. Out in the Western
Yep.
Conference, my man James, an old-time NASL rivalry, 8 versus 9. Vancouver hosting Portland, small niche in Portland because of a ongoing conflict at BC Place where the Whitecaps play. So Vancouver, home team at Portland's home stadium. Coming up later this week, they'll play the number 1 seed in LAFC, who's the Western Conference's number 1 overall seed. 4 versus 5, Seattle will host Houston. 3 versus 6, Real Salt Lake taking on Minnesota. And 2 versus 7, the LA Galaxy will take on the Colorado Rapids. So, James, betting favorite is Miami right now, 74 points. Lionel Messi and his entire cast and crew from his time in Barcelona. A very, somewhat in a way, up-and-coming club in Orlando. Charlotte getting into the postseason after a very dismal couple of rough years getting into the mix. FC Cincinnati has turned things around. New York City is a defending Cup champion in the past 5 years. And the defending champs in Columbus take on the Red Bulls, 2 versus 7. Out west again, LAFC going for a 3rd straight Cup final run. Number 1 overall seed. Vancouver, Portland, old-time NASL rivals going at it. Seattle facing Houston, RSL hosting Minnesota, and then the Galaxy back in after a lengthy playoff absence will take on Colorado in their opening 3 matches of play, best 2 out of 3. James, first of all, man, 9-team playoff is interesting. Wild card round, best 2 out of 3, single elimination. No aggregate score will be used at all in this. James, though, what do you probably like, though, about this playoff, my man? I know that Inter Miami is like the very big draw right now again. I can confirm real quick that Sportico, James, had a very cool story that MLS attendance is like up over 130% because of Lionel Messi. Teams, much like Callan Clark in the WNBA, James, Inter Miami road games have been moved to NFL stadiums. Kansas City did this. The Revolution did this, or they already play at Gillette Stadium. I believe that the Galaxy and LAFC played their 4th of July match at the Rose Bowl this year and drew like 70,000 people. So, James, I do like, though, man, a lot of new faces, a lot of old-time faces. Again, the Galaxy, 5-time champions, getting into the party again. Seattle's had has had great success. LAFC's had some awesome success recently. RSL, constant winner. Minnesota getting back in. Legacy names like Vancouver and Portland getting back in. A very intriguing Houston team getting in. Defending champions in Columbus getting in once more. The Red Bulls and New York City FC both getting in this year. Orlando and Charlotte getting in. Atlanta and Montreal. Joseph Martinez playing against his old club with Montreal and him formerly playing with Atlanta. Then, of course, Inter Miami, top overall seed. James, what do you probably like, though, about this 18-team field of this 29-team league here for the 2024 campaign, man? I think, though, it's Miami or bust for the Cup this year, sadly.
Yeah, I do like that many clubs get in. I do like that in this sport because it's, like you mentioned, the single elimination. Then you have the 3.
2 out of 3, yeah.
2 out of 3 there as well. So it will go by fast, despite how many teams are in. That's what I like about it. So
yeah,
I mean,
they're literally James. They're not wasting time with that with the best 2 out of 3. It's literally, I think, Saturday, Monday, Wednesday. I think there's literally game, off day to travel, game if need be, off day to travel, game.
You keep people intrigued that way. You don't have 2 or 3 days of,
And I also think,
rest
James,
in the series.
and I also James think even better. I believe that other than the wild card games, I think every round will be on Fox or FS1 for the postseason, or even ESPN.
Good, because I want to hopefully catch some Messi games. I guess if I have to predict, I want to see LA and LA again. But I want to see that for a Western Conference final, though. I don't know if they would move that to the Rose Bowl or just have it at LAFC. But I think
they would probably stay at BMO Stadium. I don't think that they would move it to the Rose Bowl.
That would be something, though. LAFC, I think, would win that. I'm going to say Inter Miami beats Columbus for the conference games.
I do like that.
And then the Cup, I'm going to say Inter Miami defeats LAFC.
Yeah.
LAFC, I know this would be their third straight trip.
MLS Cup final trip. Yeah, 22 last year and then 2024.
But I think Messi, along with the others, I think it would be too much. I know LAFC's defense is really good, but they just have so much talent on Inter Miami.
So much offensive firepower, man. I mean, LAFC and Inter Miami both, like, that could be collision course, James. I do like the prediction, though, for another El Trafico for the conference final. Part of me, though, would be a little skeptical just for the fact of the Galaxy have to play Colorado. Like, you get game 1 and game 3, if need be, in Carson. But going to Denver, though, in game 2, weather could be a factor. Playing at Dick's Sporting Goods Park, altitude, Colorado usually plays good at home. This is, also, the playoff and experience of the Galaxy not being there for a long time. I still think, though, that would be really good, I think, for the league if it was LA again for like the third time in 4 years that they would face off in the conference final. I also kind of look around the bracket, like, part of me would say, like, maybe Colorado does overtake the Galaxy. Like, I do think there's an upset somewhere. Now, where that upset would be, I don't know. I feel like it could be Colorado over the Galaxy. Yeah. I think Real Salt Lake would have.
I think Callan will be back in a second. Some technical difficulties. I think it's going to be a great. Go ahead.
Out the time. Yeah, there we go. Had a little bit of a hiccup there, sadly. It is getting late. But I was like, Colorado might be able to upend the Galaxy. It looks like maybe. I don't know, man. Like, I just, the intrigue is there across the board. I really think, though, that, like, Columbus would have a chance maybe to move on. You always wonder about, like, the defending champs kind of coming in.
Think Callan will be back. We're talking MLS, of course. I'm thinking, hey, let's probably go to the next segment if Callan will come back eventually. Let's talk about college football and the other football, I guess. It was again a fun week of college football, but some statements were made, I think, with college football this week. It was really fun. Let me get the rankings up here for everyone. Oregon takes the first poll. They had an easy win against Purdue last Friday, so that was really good. Georgia, though, had the big win over Texas to make Texas number 5. Georgia goes from, I think, 4 to 2, so that was really good as we have Callan back.
Inter Miami over LAFC. We have had some tech problems over here in studio, but I was mainly saying, like, maybe Colorado upends LA, but I think, though, any soccer fan out there who watches the product or not, I think you want Inter Miami versus LAFC. You get the top 2 teams. You get, LA going to Miami. You have, again, Lionel Messi in the playoffs. Like, that's going to just, really generate a lot of good stuff. With that, James, back over to you for college football.
College football. Oregon, as I mentioned, number 1, destroying the Boilermakers at Purdue on Friday. Why the hell was that a Friday night game? Georgia and Texas played, and
how's that even a conference matchup now is even just more perplexing and stupid.
I hate that. Georgia defeated Texas. If you were with us on Saturday on C2C, we thank you. Me and Chris did a watch party of that. And I ain't gonna lie, that felt good watching Texas lose a big game because everybody was hyping them up. Georgia came back to form. Their defense played an outstanding ball game. I mean, they had turnovers, they have sacks. They made Texas quarterback make quarterback changes not once but twice. They went from Ayers to Manning back to Ayers, and Ayers had a better second half, but it wasn't enough. Georgia propels to number 2. Meanwhile, Texas goes to number 5. Then you have the idle teams that pretty much stayed where they were. Penn State at 3, and then Ohio State was number 4. I guess when you're idle, you don't get to move up. So I guess that's the case.
It's only fair, though, right?
Yeah. Miami went from, I think, 8 to 6, and they had a fun game against Louisville at Louisville. They held on to win, I think, 52 to 45. I want to say. Tennessee had a big upset win over Alabama. They go from 11 to 7.
Like that cigar.
Reverse Slurpee. Yeah, that was the thing we saw viral over the weekend. Louisville went to 8 with their win. Clemson went from 10 to 9 with their easy win. Iowa State dropped actually 1. They had a close game and they held on. If they lost, they would possibly dropped out of the top 10 there. BYU went from 15 to 11 with their easy win. Notre Dame played Georgia Tech at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Georgia Tech, right before the game, an hour before the game, their starting quarterback could not play, so Notre Dame had fun with that. One of the feel-good stories at 13, Indiana football. Not known for basketball anymore. I mean, well, they haven't in a while. Mike Woodson's trying to bring him back, but they keep losing in the March Madness. But their story with their running game, their passing game, they look like so much fun with Indiana. I think College Game Day will be there this Saturday coming up. That's something that has been long overdue. They haven't been 7-0 since 1967, and they demolished after a while Nebraska, who are fading. A&M at 14, Texas A&M. Alabama went all the way from 7 to 15. By the way, this is the first time they had 2 losses in the season since Nick Saban's first year in 2007. So keep that in mind. It's been a while since they dropped this far.
17 years.
I missed that. Kansas State pretty much stays where they are at 16. Boise at 17. Ole Miss 18. Pitt may be a surprise too at 19. And then another great story. Illinois keeps winning up there in Champaign.
Beautiful uniforms on Saturday, by the way.
I loved that.
Bravo.
The leather helmet there. You know, they had to take some time to make each helmet. And that looked awesome. They beat Michigan, which is out of the top 25, like I predicted. I just thought after that Texas loss, they have some flaws.
Just like he said, the Trojans would be out of a top 25, too.
Ugh. They lost at Maryland, if anybody wants to know. Yikes.
The Snapping Turtles beat the Trojans.
I was like, for the longest time, what the hell is a terp?
Snapping Turtle.
Juan Dixon. Steve Blake, Chris Wilcox, Gary Williams. I was thinking of all the great NBA basketball players.
Jake Layman.
Wow. But yeah, Illinois at 20. I can't remember last time they've been this good at basketball and football at the same time. Missouri at 22 or 21, they held on to win that game. That was a really close one. SMU at 22. And then the 3 great stories in my mind, 23, 24, 25, you have Army and Navy airing it out or running some schemes that don't involve the middle, which I love. They're doing some gadget plays. They're having fun with those cadets there. It's fun to see that. And then probably the best story, they went on the national scene last week beating Alabama. Now they have another win, and Vandy is number 25. I was thinking about it the other day with Vanderbilt, where they brought in Derek Mason and he tried to turn things around, but it was not happening. They, just like Indiana, took advantage of the transfer portal, the NIL deals, and both of those programs have catapulted to the top 25. And again, I'm just happy for Vandy, Navy, Army, Missouri, even SMU, Pitt, Illinois, and Indiana. I'm just happy for all of them. And even Iowa State, I know eventually they'll drop out, not be as high, But I'm just happy for the schools that I mentioned that are just having a renaissances of a year, and it's just making college football even that better. And it's kind of nice to see some of those blue bloods kind of fall down, like Alabama and Texas. Miami might be back this year. It could be their schedule too, but eventually the playoffs will happen, and we'll see if they host the game or they'll be on the bye. But Miami has been long overdue to have a season like this. James Franklin's job with Penn State has been saved. I know there's rumblings about that. And good to see Tennessee and Clemson back where they should be.
Light up that cigar.
Especially Clemson, because Dabo Swinney being against, transfer portals and NILs, he's kind of doing it a rebel kind of way, not from everybody else's way, having to adapt to it. We just need Notre Dame to drop out, and I think I'll be very happy. But yeah, that was college football this week, and it was a dandy.
And with that, I'll stay in college football with the FCS top 25 rankings through games that were played over the weekend. North Dakota State remains on top of the top 25 for FCS football, followed up by Montana State, South Dakota State, and South Dakota. UC Davis ran up the top 5. Southeast Missouri State, North Dakota, Tarleton State, Montana, and UIW in the top 10. Then Idaho, Central Arkansas, Villanova, Mercer, and Rhode Island in the top 15. William and Mary, Abilene Christian, Richmond, Chattanooga, and North Carolina Central in the top 20, while Illinois State, Dartmouth, ETSU, Western Carolina, and Tennessee State round out the top 25 for FCS football. Others who got votes: UT Martin, Stony Brook, Duquesne, Sacramento State, Harvard, Monmouth, Jackson State, Northern Arizona, Southeastern Louisiana, Drake, New Hampshire, Florida A&M, Dayton, Samford, Lamar, and Maine all also got votes in the top 25. And also close to home, USD football. The Toreros knocked off the Marist Red Foxes in convincing fashion on homecoming Saturday, 34-6 before 3,000 strong at USD's Torero Stadium on Saturday afternoon. James, back over to you.
I that's great for the Toreros, by the way. That game was going, that Dakota State game against each other, that was going on during the same time as that Texas game. I was kind of switching back and forth. But that game was 9-7 for so long in favor of South Dakota, and I didn't even remember or see the score until now. And you mentioned Dakota now in first, North Dakota, excuse me, in first. But that was a raucous crowd there in that that building that they have there. So yeah, shout out to the the Bison for doing it.
So again, folks, that was your top 25 look in both FBS and FCS football. All right, James, no surprise, a 2-hour show, but hey, we always enjoy a 2-hour show. James, I'm supposed to go, my man, off the board on now a Tuesday morning. Again, folks, off the board is our segment where we are allowed to talk about one or two topics that were not discussed on the program that we like to bring up and get each other's thoughts on. James, please go ahead and start.
Random question, just a quick answer. Where does Pete Alonso go this offseason?
That's a good question.
After he was eliminated
why does part of me think that he stays because of his postseason heroics?
Yep. You can't let him leave.
I think he stays.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's funny. I had him traded to Cleveland, then the Mets went on a damn run, and they had some fun. That's what sports are all about, I think. Whole Grimace thing and all that, OMG. Anyway, I kind of wanted to talk about what the hell's going on with the Cleveland Browns, not on the field, but their plans to move from the Lakefront Stadium they've had since '99 to a dome in the suburbs of, I'm trying to remember where they are, but in suburban Brook Park. The city tried to keep them in Cleveland, but the lease expires in 2028, so after that, I guess. But does it seem to me like more teams are going back to the suburb or going to the suburbs? You think of, the Braves doing that. I guess the Los Angeles
Bears were looking at it, going to Arlington Heights. The Browns, the Rams, and Chargers building in Inglewood. Raiders building on the Strip in Vegas, not really in Vegas, but where the
Paradise.
tourists are all at. I think it is I even think, James, of like the New York Islanders building their new arena, UBS Arena in Belmont or Elmont near the Belmont Park racetrack. They're not playing at Nassau Coliseum
That
anymore.
sucks.
They're not playing in Long Island. They're not playing in Brooklyn anymore, thank God, because that was
Yeah.
not built for hockey. But I think it is a trend, James. And I think I said this, though, when I talked about the Browns' new stadium deal they were talking about. Again, you have to think outside the box with the NFL. Like, it can't be your all NBN. That's why I look at Mercedes-Benz Stadium or Lucas Oil Stadium. You need to find ways to get revenue away from just the National Football League. If you want to host events like the Super Bowl, the CFP final, the Final Four for basketball, you got to have a damn dome on your stadium. Simple as that.
Yeah, I feel like more teams are doing that. They're seeing the Braves kind of model and saying, "Hey, I think we could do that." The Mets are building a infrastructure around Citi Field, I believe, coming up soon.
I believe New York. I believe New York City FC and MLS is building a stadium in the suburbs too. I think in Flushing near Citi Field. I think
it
too.
is. Yeah. Building all that around where the Mets are, and then God, who was it? The Angels were supposed to do that around Angel Stadium, but
they're doing that at Honda Center right now with OC Vibe.
I gotta check that out whenever that's done. And then who was the other one I was trying to think of? God.
And look what they did with SoFi with NFL Network Studios being there, the YouTube Theater being there. All of the esports teams have their own little facility there too on the campus of SoFi. Then you had an Intuit Dome as well.
One team that I think is taking a risk are the Philadelphia 76ers moving downtown eventually away from the complex of the Spectrum and all the other stadiums there. I find that that's kind of they need to revamp the downtown Philly area. So that is going to be something to look forward to and to see if that's a success or not. I'm always looking, all the Philly teams belong where they are now. So the Phillies leaving there, the Sixers leaving there, it's kind of,
there's a lot of blowback though with that project. I talked about it, I think, James, 2 weeks ago on Press Row, was about the Asian American community is pushing back on it. The money factor is a thing. I haven't said that. You can't break up what's already there with the Sixers and the Flyers, the Wings, the Eagles, and the Phillies. Like, you can't do that.
Yeah, it feels wrong.
It does feel wrong. I agree.
Yeah, so those are my things. Those are two East Coast things. I'm just thinking to myself, yeah, there's nothing really happening out here. I don't care about the world. Well, yeah, it's funny though, because it's like we talked about the World Series. It's like if you love baseball, you'll watch it still. I'm still hurt over, other teams losing. So, but eventually,
I'm still reeling, and the Padres have been knocked out for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I'll watch. I'm not going to probably watch the game in its entirety. I'm not going to sit through all 9 innings. I might watch here and there. I have places to be on Friday anyway, so I'm going to miss game one regardless at this rate. I think the main thing, honestly, for why I'd even watch is he might be a Dodger, but hell, I got a damn former teammate of mine playing for a World Series championship 2 years in a row. I had Kevin Ginkel, who was a teammate of mine at one point with Arizona, who made the World Series last year, and then now I got Tommy Edman playing for. He just happens to be wearing that damn Dodger blue. But as a baseball fan, you kind of, in a way, like, I'll suck it up and watch, but I don't think I'll watch every game in its entirety. Like, there's hockey games to watch. The Gulls will be playing in Western Canada this upcoming weekend, starting on Friday, I believe, or on, Saturday or whatever. Like, I can distract myself and have the game on and kind of be, background noise. But I'm not going to, like, intently watch, like, I'm going to live and die with every pitch. But I get it though, James. Like, like I said, I'm a baseball fan. You're a baseball fan. We'll watch, but I don't think we'll watch in its full entirety. Like, we're going to live and die with every pitch when it does roll around. I did miss one soccer segment though. I saved it though for my off the board topic. MLS already, James, today announced on Monday, now here on Tuesday, San Diego FC, the newest team that will join MLS, already announced their first 2 games of the schedule that were released on Monday. No surprise, James. No surprise, I think, to kick San Diego sports fans in the nuts over and over and over again. The first ever match in club history will take place in late February against the LA Galaxy at Dignity Health Sports Park in Carson, California. So, James, I get what the league is doing, though, because now you have to factor in that there is now 4 MLS clubs in California: San Diego, Carson, LA, and now San Jose. But right out of the gate, though, to in a way, like start old trauma for San Diego sports fans of seeing an LA team on the opposite side of the field, whether it's the Dodgers or now the Galaxy starting off the first ever season for San Diego FC. I mean, I'm looking forward to it though. It's already gotten spicy in the comments amongst the two fan bases, as you probably imagine, between the Galaxy fans and San Diego fans. Again, LA versus San Diego. I'm also the first ever home game for San Diego FC, March 1st, against the most recent expansion team, St. Louis, will come to San Diego to play the Chrome y Azul for their first ever home match in San Diego at Snapdragon Stadium at 7:30 p.m. on March 1st in San Diego. So, James, LA, San Diego already, and then the two newest expansion teams in MLS kick off the home schedule in San Diego. I'm eager, man, to see how this plays out, though. I'm eager to get to some games, though. But James, do you think though that maybe MLS maybe saw what Dodgers Padres was in the postseason? Like, we need to kind of, in a way, capture lightning in a bottle in some capacity by just having San Diego playing one of the two LA teams their first ever match of the season?
Yes, and just the fact that LA Galaxy, they were the first ones out here along with San Jose, and it's closer to San Diego. So I think that's why they want to do it. It'll draw ratings and people, I think. You'll have people come up from San Diego to watch that because it's the inaugural game. I'm really interested to see that home. You'll be there, and the home opener as well. I was trying to remember.
I won't be there for the home opener, but we're trying to get a bunch of fans to go up to the game for first ever game, like first actual game in club history.
Yeah, that'd be nice to see. And then I was trying to see on that logo. It's so small to see who the hell they were home opener was going to be with. And it was who did you say it was? St. Louis whom?
St. Louis City SC.
Oh, City SC. Okay, it didn't have a name.
Yeah, the logo has the Gateway Arch, I think. Same colors as the Cardinals.
So I'll be looking to see how attendance is going to be for that. Yeah, I'll try to make some games. I have to mention this. I think I'm gonna go Sunday, November 3rd at 2:30 at Snapdragon. It'll be the Wave and Racing Louisville playing, and I want to say that's Alex Morgan's retirement ceremony going on.
That already happened, unless they're doing another one for her, because she did it like in the middle of the season.
That's what I thought.
I recalled talking about it here and during Off the Board a few weeks ago.
Oh, okay. Because some guy.
They got a sick ass baseball jersey giveaway though that I like for you to get me because I can't make it to the game.
To that game? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll get that then. But yeah, I'm gonna head to a game because I went by the stadium a couple of weeks ago and I've always wanted to go. And I'm looking at it right now. That game will be on ESPN, but going to that game, I'm gonna love that. Oh, there it is. Yeah, the baseball kind of jersey.
Yeah, they did a basketball jersey for Fan Appreciation Night last season, and now this year it's going to be a baseball jersey.
I saw that. I think the crowd going to the game. I think I saw someone with the basketball one, but yeah, that Wave one looks good. The baseball one, but yeah, I'll be taking in some soccer to start off November. So that was a big surprise. I found out today that a friend has a extra ticket, so I'm gonna go check that out. Not only the stadium, but the sport as well. I just hope the field is better maintained than a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, and I'm sure that'll all be taken care of. I know some people are already complaining about, well, what's the field going to look like in, first ever home game in March of 2025? Like, spare me the BS, people. Like, they're going to get all this right. SDSU plays on the 26th of this week. They're on the road, I think, the following week, so they have plenty of time to get the field back in working order and whatnot going on. But I think, James, that I think I talked about this a few weeks ago when I had gone to one of the hooligan parties down on Imperial Avenue. Again, I'm a part of one of the groups, the 18th Battalion. Where's all my stickers at? I got a whole triage of them here somewhere. Where again they're mixing Star Wars and soccer fandom. But I can't even find them now. But regardless, though, James, like I said, like this has been something that's been talked about for a long time. It's a sport that has always been, in San Diego's DNA, being so close to the Mexican border. Them signing a 4-year deal to play the Tijuana Cholos of Liga MX for 4 straight years of preseason games starting this upcoming season. And,
Wow.
the sport being here for a long time, since the 60s into the 70s, and then it got popularity with the Jaws and Soccers back in the late 70s, and then the Soccers winning all their championships with the indoor version of soccer, 10 titles in 11 years, and then winning 4 in a row when they came back in 2009. And then I got my 3 championships with my 11 years with the team and from 2012 till 2024, basically. Like, the soccer market here is huge. It's always, it's a city that's always in the top 10 for EPL viewership, Bundesliga viewership and Team USA viewership. So it's long overdue. And now that we have another major sports team here on that, upper echelon, with baseball, basketball, football, and hockey, and that there is a vibrant, rich community here, and that, they like literally, James, when they got announced on my birthday, they already sold 5,000 season seat deposits. They're still selling like hotcakes here. They have open houses every Saturday for people to come pick out their seats at Snapdragon Stadium if they're going to get season seats. I'm not going to. I'm going to be getting single game tickets or like a mini plan or whatever. But, to now have top flight MLS coming here now, is a huge thing for the city, and already kind of getting that Galaxy and LAFC rivalry started, with that first game. Then you start, then you start forging other, rivalries with St. Louis and Cincinnati and, San Jose. And then, the legacy teams like that you played back in the NASL, like the Quakes and the Timbers and the Sounders and the Whitecaps, and then the rivalry too at one point with Montreal from back in the day. Like there's a new way, now to start forging rivalries. But certainly, I'm looking forward to it, James. It's going to be very fun, and I hope you enjoy yourself though, both at the stadium and also at the Wave match versus Louisville.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see. I've been wanting to do something. I got the arena here, but there's nothing till November 8th, and I still got to get the plan
But
for
here I
that.
thought you were going to see Bones, Thug, and Harmony though for Monster Jam
No,
on Saturday. What gives?
I figured I would for my birthday weekend I would just go up north and hang out.
There you go.
I just don't. I was thinking to myself, you know what? I could hear them for free, and it won't be as a crazy environment. I think. Hopefully
That reminds
they
me
don't
as well,
tear that up.
James. But that reminds me, James, even better. If you're not doing anything next Sunday, the 27th,
Oh yeah, you're coming up for the soccer game.
I'll be
I
coming
gotta
up
see
for
what time
the
I come back.
I'll be coming up for the Major Arena Soccer League's International Fan CLB Cup between like an all-star game, basically between Team USA and Mexico to christen the first
Mm.
indoor soccer event at Front Wave Arena next Sunday, which would be pretty cool to be a part of. To give my old employer their flowers for one of my one-offs that I'm able to do. So again, we got a lot of footy, James, coming our way here pretty soon.
Do you think Inter Miami would come next season to San Diego?
I really hope so. And I think, James, that I really hope so, because I think it's a brand new market. Like, why not bring the best thing going for MLS
That's what I was thinking.
Since David Beckham signed in 2007? Why not bring him to San Diego to really bring the fans in?
I would
That
love to
game,
go to
James, if
that.
that happens, that game will sell out in 10 seconds and it'll be standing room only, I guarantee you.
I would love to go to that whenever LAFC comes or LA Galaxy. Hey, I'll say right now that one of those game on me. I'll go. I'll go to one of those.
Yeah,
Or
and
whatever
if
happens.
it's against anyone else, then it's on me. Yeah, I mean it's a fair
I would
trade-off.
love to go to. I've wanted to go to the LAFC play. What's it called?
BMO BMO
BMO
Stadium.
Stadium. I've been wanting to go to that because of the atmosphere that you've been in. I'm
It's
just
amazing.
hoping there's a little bit of that with the FC team in those standing places. I would
18th
love to
Battalion.
be in there and just stand there the whole game. I don't even like sitting down. I don't even like sitting down right now. So I think it'd be cool to stand up the whole time, have a little suds, and catch some goals,
And
hopefully.
you know damn well, man, there's plenty of good suds in San Diego, and you'll find plenty of good suds too at Snapdragon when you go to the game against Louisville.
I just want to see the architecture, the art that was done there. I want to check that out, get those pictures, and yeah, try a little bit of everything, hopefully.
Yeah, and folks, just real quick, Snapdragon Stadium was built where a Qualcomm Stadium, Jack Murphy Stadium, San Diego Stadium was built where the Padres and Chargers played for a long time. Uh, James, it's very much, way smaller. Obviously, it holds 35,000 people. But when I first began going there to cover the Wave as a third-party writer in 2 years ago, it really felt like it was San Diego, like the architecture, the murals of back in the day on Cowles Mountain when they would paint a giant S for San Diego State on it back in the day. Even, the mural on the Dos Equis Club at the 50-yard line for a American football game. Remember these two things: play hard and have fun, signed by Tony Gwynn. You walk around by the team store, there's a giant San Diego postcard mural with a lowrider. You walk underneath one of the seating bowls, there's all these little nuggets that pay tribute to the old stadium, like the Jack Murphy rundle that was in the end zone. They've left seats behind as you walk around from Qualcomm. They put up the old scoreboard from Qualcomm. The old lighting fixture is up from Qualcomm. The original letters that spelled San Diego when it first opened from the scoreboard back in the 60s is on display. The lights even light
Wow.
up now. They've done a lot of really cool things to keep the legacy. Even better, James, there used to be a statue you might remember at Gate K. If you came into to Qualcomm from the trolley station, there was a giant pedestal and a statue of Jack Murphy and his
Yeah,
dog.
yeah.
That statue is now on the north end as you walk towards the towards the ticket booth, and it's been restored. All the some of the concession stands are also painted to match San Diego history. Like there's one that's painted after the B-38 bomber with the shark face and the U.S. Navy logo. And even better, James, they did one for this they even dedicated one to the San Diego chicken. How about that?
Wow.
So
Yeah, I
James, you'll really enjoy your time at the stadium. Believe me, you
gotta
will.
check out that. Check my phone storage for all the pictures. I even like what they did outside, near the train or near the trolley where they have like grass area, and there's
Oh, it's
areas for like
beautiful. They
everybody
have
if you took your
basketball
family.
courts. Yeah,
I
basketball
saw that
courts.
too.
Walking trails, brand new turf, you name it. They did a really great job, and it's just the start of them building further with SDSU West pretty soon.
I might bring my basketball then.
Why
That'd
not?
be awesome. That'd be
Why
amazing. I
not?
didn't even notice that. I just saw like a playground and all the kids there,
Yeah,
all the families
it's
there.
all tucked underneath the trolley tracks, and also
Right.
where the old rugby field used to be, where the Sockers would practice back in the day. They would do concerts over there on the rugby field where Back used to play. Yeah, the whole thing is great. It's just the start, though.
I'll check it all out. Hopefully November 3rd.
With that, folks, in mind, though, James, I guess we can get to final thoughts finally for this program.
Yeah, I definitely talk too much.
We both do. It's fine.
I always like doing this show. Doing the thing with Chris was cool too. I did a bunch of shows with him lately. It was like I felt like it was like 12 of them, but it was really probably 4 or 5. But C2C always has a bunch of programs.
Pretty soon we're going to call the show CB and J, not PB and J, CB and J. Crispy Bacon and James.
So what we'll have today C2C at night. Tomorrow we'll have game night, I'm guessing.
I'm in a meeting till 7:30, but we should be fine. We should be fine.
And then I'll be watching TNT, so who knows how long that'll go. Wednesday, of course, sports hour, and then
Yeah, you almost did it. I was gonna
almost
say.
on deck. Hopefully, we'll preview the world. Yeah, we'll preview the World Series and get to whatever topics come up for. I think we'll just do a World Series preview. There's nothing really else going on. Maybe something will come up before it happens on Thursday. Kicking it, of course. Entertainment Hour Friday. Sunday they'll have Between the Ropes and Morning Tailgate. Hopefully I'll be a part of that. See how hungover I am at 8 a.m. on my birthday on Sunday. See how that works out. See what I slur out that night, that morning.
Suck.
Wait, they're here. Oh yeah, so that's gonna be fun. We're gonna have
stop podcasting. He's horrible.
Sparaditas. Oh,
Sparaditas, baby.
Oh, I'm sorry. And I read something about Chris Myers. He sounded bored in that in the games he done this year. I think he's just that old. That's all I think it is. But yeah, that's my final thoughts.
Yeah, folks, final thoughts. Sorry for the tech glitches tonight. It literally took me like an hour to get my browser to work to get this computer. I'm telling you, like, the computer just does not like me. But we got through the program. We had a couple of hiccups here, though. But hey, it is what it is, though. Again, folks, as a reminder, again, C2C Rankin will be on bright and early on Tuesday morning with our good men, Big B, and our good man Tim Hendricks. Then, of course, we will have game night, as mentioned, on Tuesday night. I'll be in a meeting at 6, though, but should be out of it by 7:30 and back home in time to host the program at 9:30 Pacific time. Again, Trivial Pursuit was played last week, so it could be that. It could be Fast Money. It could be the match game, or it could be the Immaculate Grid as well. With that in mind, folks, as well, one other small note, Press Row, in fact, will be on air on Thursday. Time right now, TBD, because, again, Thursdays right now, I have my niece and nephew over at the house on Thursdays when my niece gets out of school. With that in mind, though, folks, for James Gonzales and for yours truly, Cal McClurg, good night or good morning, wherever you might be joining us from. Until next time, folks, have a great day. Have a great Tuesday. We'll see you folks next time back here next Monday to recap the weekend and day that was in sports back here on C2C at night, folks. Until next time, take care. Bye-bye.